evening, everyone, and welcome to the City Commission meeting for August 24th, 2021. Before we begin the proceedings, I'd like to invite up our good friend George Monroe of Evanston Avenue Baptist Church to lead us in prayer, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Anyone who wishes to join us in prayer and the pledge, please do so. And at this time then, Mr. Monroe.
Shall we pray? Our dear Heavenly Father, again we thank you for this privilege of being here, Lord. We thank you for our leaders, Lord, that you would undertake for them and guide and direct them, Lord, and protect them and their families at all times, Lord. Now be with this meeting, Lord, that you would make the right decisions, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks so much, George. May we have the roll call, please?
Do this old-fashionedly. Commissioner Ramsey,
Here.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Here.
Commissioner Muskegon,
Here.
Commissioner German,
Here.
Commissioner Emery,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Gallard.
Here. Next up is introduction of the new Farmers Market Manager. Who's leading out with that, Madam Clerk?
Me.
You.
I need my vote sheets, so hold on. I would like to invite Sam Birkencap to go up to the podium there, if you could, for us. Sam Birkencap comes to us. He is, for anybody who hasn't seen him, he is from Teology at the Chalets, very enthusiastic tea drinker there, who has a lot of years of experience with working with vendors themselves. He is going to get up to date on all the food laws, which is typical for anybody starting out at the market. But he definitely has a lot of experience of working with people, working with a variety of people. He loves our market, and I'm just going to let him say a few words of introduction.
Thanks for that introduction, Ann. My name is Sam Birkencamp. I do own Teology at the Western Market. That is before the Western Market, it was a vendor-based business, so I actually traveled around the Midwest to various shows that are very similar to a farmer's market. Growing up over on the east side of the state, we always had the Eastern Market in Detroit to kind of look up to, and it's very exciting to be a part of the farmer's market here in Muskegon. That's really all I have for my introduction.
Today was day one, so yeah.
Yeah, today was day one. We got to go around, look at some of the projects that we have going on for the community and stuff like that. Got to meet some of the farmers. They seem like a pretty good group of people.
Yes.
And I look forward to serving the city of Muskegon in this role.
Very good. We're very excited to have you on board, and look forward to many months and years ahead working with you on the great things at our farmers market.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome, my dear sir, and congratulations. That brings us to a public comment at this time. This public comment is on any specific agenda item that is up for action tonight. Each individual that wishes to make comment is invited up to the podium. We need your name, your address, and you're given 3 minutes of comment. We do not engage in debate or discussion at this time, but your comments on these agenda items are taken under consideration. We do have staff and others in the office, in the audience, who will be taking note of the comments. The commission will also be taking note of your comments, and they will be utilized during, our deliberations when that action item comes up on the agenda. Okay. I know right off the bat I do have Bridget Shepard. I believe you want to come up to address item D under unfinished business. which is the rezoning on Roberts.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Bridget Shepard, and I'm here in reference to my mom's address right next to this property of 1229 East Isabella. And before, I've only had a few moments to get across a little bit for maybe you to listen to more of my plea in the sense. And it's not just on the personal interest is what I've slowly been able to translate, but more comes also on a professional matter. And when I bring up different work history that I've had, many of that's impacted me. And much of that includes drug addiction and abuse. Much also is included to that in my life. I was raised with an alcoholic father, which my mom endured, which she is living next to this property. There's been other matters of not being able to get those inpatient treatment centers for my niece when she needed it. So I know there is a very valid, very strong need for those centers. Unfortunately, I don't believe a center of this scale is needed in the residential area that it is. Each home around there is a residential home, and these people have worked long and hard to keep crime to the minimum. They're involved with their neighbors. They talk. Okay, so I've gotten to all of that in prior messages. But what I haven't done is I haven't come to the table to you with possibly a compromise to consider. Maybe something on a smaller scale. If you look at a 14-bed unit plus one for your staff, so you have a 15-bed unit, you're looking at 2 of those. Not only does that area not provide the parking, which that's a whole nother concept, but let's think about it realistically. It takes away the individualism to the person that is affected most by the addiction, the one that's addicted. It takes away their individualism of a home. And I know that is really what they are going for, is to establish the Maslow's hierarchy of law. When it comes down to having a home, having your medical attention, your mental health, and your addictions, there's always root causes. That doesn't always get solved, obviously, within a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. But they are stepping stones, and I get that too. So if you look at a concept of maybe doing, and I don't have an idea, maybe a quadplex, a duplex, I would say, that the lot right behind my mom's is a significant size lot. I do believe that there is great possibilities for things to be done. I don't believe that this really targets an individualism aspect. When you look at their plan, and if I calculated their plan to rough statistics, the 2 people have 100 square foot. We don't even allow that for our children in our foster care system, let alone a person that has mental health issues, many comorbidities that come along with it, and the whole. I don't think it's in the best interest for the neighborhood, because this does bring great change. It does bring crime. It's proven statistics that in that sense, it's no different, maybe a little less than in inviting a drugstore, a liquor store into your backyard. It does bring problems. It does bring change. And I don't think this is the direction this neighborhood has been fighting for change. Now, incorporating these people that have gone through this program into the communities is a fabulous thing, and I understand. And I think that's a great thing that they're doing. I'm looking at the concept that on a smaller scale, they could do this on an individual space, as well as have great success rates, which they've had for 5 years on the individual basis.
Joseph Adams, also I believe on item D on unfinished business. No, they just happen to give these, and then I'll work my way through. Okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So I'm representing my mom, 1147 Roberts. She lives directly across the proposed development. She's had talks with the pastor, I believe, of that church. And our thing is pretty much the size of it. Currently, right now, she has a problem with people coming in her driveway, pulling in and out, deteriorating even further. She's invested quite heavily in that community. She's just moved here 2 years ago from Chicago. Upwards of $20,000 she's already put into that place. Okay? And one of the things I told her when she came here, I said, be the leader. You know, be the leader and be the person that people look to as, you know, opportunity for this area, right? And that's what she's been doing. She's cut the trees down. She's going to build a nice fence, etc. She talked to her real estate person who sold her home. And she told me, hey, what's going to happen? And he told her it's not going to be great. It's going to affect the value of your home, okay? And on a personal note, and no offense to some people in this thing, but as African American, I can tell you right now, a lot of our people, our ancestors, had a lot of their neighborhoods destroyed strategically, okay? In that area, you got what's called stalwarts. I've been in Muskegon for 12 years. I know the history of this place very well, okay? I worked for Comcast for over 10. Been in some of y'all's homes probably. I can tell you right now, there are older black folks in that area who have stood the test of time. You understand? And right now, as we speak, that sign right there means something. Watch Muskegon go. And the value of Muskegon has gone up. You understand? She's only been there 2 years. She's already made $50,000 return on her investment. And to bring this place in there right now, that's not going to conform to the community, what's going to happen? Value's going to go down. You understand? So once again, when our ancestors pass, instead of giving us something good that we see white folks get, right? It's going to be, sorry, I tried. Here's the hood. You know? And once again, we're out. Damn. You know? I guess it's true. We can't do nothing right. All right? And so my thing is simple. With him, it's great what he's trying to do. My thing is, what the one lady said, conform to the community. Be the person that sits there and gives back both. Hey, look. All right, we're going to build single-family homes like you guys did on Western. What you did on Mason, et cetera, or Houston. $250,000 home. You tore that whole block down. And holy cow. I get my hair cut by Norris every doggone, well, ain't lie, once a month too. But you did a phenomenal job over there, right? You gave back to the community. Now, if he wants to come and says, hey, you know something, we're going to give back. We're going to give these people a chance. Halfway homes, et cetera. We're going to build $250,000 homes, you know. I can't argue against that. He has a right to pursue his dreams on his land. You know, he's conforming to the community. But this place, the way it's being proposed, it's like a apartment complex. It doesn't fit the agenda. You understand? That's going to have a negative impact on that area. So be the voice of go, conform a little bit. I'm not saying you can't do it. You have every right to. All right? But be that voice of saying, listen, we're going to build, instead of 30 homes, we could build 15 or 20, you know? But we want you guys to back us up maybe on some grant money from the federal government. I know there's a lot of grant money right now in Joe Biden's new bill.
Mr. Adams, I have to.
Sorry, all right.
No, not a problem.
So with that said, thank you very much.
Thank you kindly. Patsy Petty.
Excuse me. My name is Patsy Petty. I live at 1131 Allen Avenue. I'm a longtime resident of Muskegon. And this, yes, we do need to solve the problems what we have in our community with drugs and whatever else. But I am a 73-year-old woman. I get up out of my bed at night and I go to my window. They can't see me, but I can see them. Cars drive up. Guy sits here half an hour. Another car drives up right in front of my door, across the street from the church, this same activity. I live alone, and I'm afraid. Since that place has been there, there's been a lot of strange people that are roaming the area, and that would be all times of day and night. And also, we got little kids. We got those schools in the area. This, we need it, but not in that area. You've got several other places within the city that you can put a facility, which I grant is very much needed, but not in this community. And I hope that you as elected officials hear what the people are saying.
Good. Susan Terrell.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just jotted down a few things this afternoon.
Okay. If we could just have your name and address.
My name is Susan Terrell, and I reside at 1188 East Isabella, and that's the facility which they're speaking of is right in my back door. And I entitled my paper here, "Not in My Back Door." I'm not aware of any of your status or actual legal residence, fixed, permanent dwelling, or even where you're engaged to live. However, I'm not hearing any of you express a willingness to undertake a service such as Fresh Coats Alliance in your neighborhood or general locality. Our established neighborhood constitutes the elderly, retired, single families, and young families with children actively playing outdoors on their bikes, scooters, or playing basketball in their yards or driveways, not in the middle of the public streets. They're not sitting in their homes or in front of their TVs or phones, but physically developing and improving their capability or skills. Children walk into the neighborhood store to purchase snacks or soft drinks. They have to walk right past these facilities, and that's scary. These programs, now they're voluntary. So does that mean if they decide they don't want to follow the rules, they can just drop out and linger around the neighborhood? Now, by this time, they have checked out the neighborhood. They know what time you go to work, what time you come home, what time you go to bed, what time the students go to school or to the bus stop. They know your entire daily schedule. There are plenty vacant buildings that they can renovate and house them there in non-residential areas. We've labored untiring over the years to keep our neighborhood exceptionally outstanding. Again, not in my back door. Thank you.
We've Cindy Lockhart.
Hello, I'm Cindy Lockhart. I live at 1080 Green Street, next door to Susan Terrell.
Ms. Lockhart, could I have you get a little closer to the
Oh, sure. Mask is a little thick. I would basically be echoing everything else that everyone before me has shared, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time other than express once again how much concern I have for the neighborhood, for the children, for grandchildren that come to my home to spend time that aren't even from my neighborhood. Worrying about if I let them walk to the park, are they going to come back? Things of that nature. I just want to say that I am also opposed to the size of the facility and the amount of people being transplanted into that neighborhood. And that's all.
I have a request here from Brenda Fearson-Grider. Is that on one of the agenda items that I didn't see specified? Yep. Okay. Then Ms. Fearson-Grider, if you'd like to come up, please.
My name is Brenda Frierson Grider. I live at 1081 Green. I'm a single parent. One of the reasons why I bought my house there was because, like Miss Susan just said, there's a lot of single people, senior citizens, children, and me, myself, I used to be a foster parent, so I had kids, and it's like 3 other families on that block as foster parents. So we have kids. that has trauma already coming into that neighborhood. I have sit up at night because I'm single. I have cameras all around my house. And I have seen women walk from that corner, from down there where that house is, come down the street, do transactions, walk back down the street, even my kids. I have also witnessed people coming down the street, getting in cars, pulling off. Why we can't go there and pick them up? Why we can't go there and do whatever we're doing out there in the street? It's not my business, but there's always somebody lingering around in somebody's yard. My neighbor house has gotten broken in. I'm nervous. Her house has got broken in 3 or 4 times, and she's single. We all are very close-knit. We don't bother each other. We look out for one another. And I just think that this is not a good place to put this facility. Not saying that we don't need it, but I'm just saying, not here. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any more of the, but I'm saying that that doesn't matter. So we will go with you, sir. Okay, and this is on the same topic, is it? Please come right on forward, give your name and address, and 3 minutes of comment.
My name is Andre Britton. I live at 1219 McLaughlin Street. Just like most of these people across the street from the facility being proposed. Now, I already know I came up here, been pressured. Wasn't gonna say nothing because it ain't gonna make a difference. I believe anyways what we say, you guys are gonna pass it and rezone it regardless because it's so beneficial to the city, your accommodations and all that other extra stuff. But I also wanna say, I ain't got time to talk about what we need or what we want. I'm gonna tell you what we don't want in my neighborhood is a rehab center, halfway house across the street from our kids, school grounds, playgrounds, you know. I don't care about the rest of it. I didn't get Mr. Johnson, Mr. Welling, nobody from their facility came to my house or my neighbor's house and talked to them like, oh, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we plan on doing in your neighborhood. No, it was a pop-up surprise. You know, I'm pretty sure you guys got a whiff of it. The rest of y'all got a whiff of it. We didn't get no members out to the last minute. So we know you're gonna try to close it. We know you're gonna push it through. But just know, man, I don't know what's going on in Muskegon, but between all the dispensaries next door to our houses, the schools getting shut down, parks ain't getting renovated, but y'all wanna put rehab places everywhere. We work real hard to get away from Wood Street on this side of close to Crescent towards your house, for stuff like this to happen, man. You know, I got my dad, uncles, cousins, friends came from rehab houses, in and out of prison. So I know the process. I know the people. And they're gonna live there 3 to 6 months. So every 3 to 6 months, we got new criminals, ex-criminals, whatever you wanna call it, coming in living in the cross street from us. So what's that mean to us? Now, if we go out there Northern Shores where some of y'all live, I know.
Nobody here lives.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
You have to
I'm testing the program. I'm testing the program. You know, I know a couple of. I'm testing the program, but I'm not really that upset about it. But the thing is, man, you know, we just don't want it. Same like she said, property value is gonna go down. A couple months ago, somebody told real estate like, oh, we get 120, 140. We ain't trying to move. We live in a good neighborhood. You know, like I said, we lived on Wood Street in Isabella and Ambrosia. So you know, we worked a long ways. We've been here 11 years. Now, right across the street from our house. Right across the street from my house. When I open my window, open my door, I come out my driveway, I ain't the best person in the world. But at the same time, man, what I gotta deal with all this for? You know? Yeah, I don't know about relocation. You wanna put it next to the police station, 25 West Warden. You know what I'm talking about? You know, somewhere we know everybody gonna be safe. They wanna break something, they breaking it there. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying people that's gonna come out is gonna break in anything. I don't know if they're being handpicked. I don't know if the convicts are coming out with what kind of convictions. They got drug habits already. Are they murderers, rapists, simple drug dealers, petty crimes? You know, what people are coming into these facilities? Now, if we would have knew all this information, it probably made an easier process for us, even though it's gonna go through. Oh, they're gonna push it through.
Hold on.
Look at them. They're gonna push it through.
3 minutes here.
My 3 minutes is up?
No, I haven't heard the ding ding.
Oh,
but,
okay,
you know,
okay. I'm making sure, you know.
keep your comments
But
coming.
you just, you know, I'm with a lot of them. We just don't want it. We don't want that type of situation in our neighborhood. You know, you want to put something up, put a new basketball court up. You know, you want to spend some more money, help people out. Hey, do what you got to do. But we just don't want it in our neighborhood. All right, appreciate it.
Right here. Yes, ma'am, please. And this will be on the same topic as the item
Correct.
B?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Lori Schoolcraft. I live at 1230 McLaughlin, which is directly east of the vacant field, which I've lived there 20 years. And throughout those years, I've watched the neighborhood kids play in that field. I've watched my grandkids play in that field. They go up and down on their scooters, on their bikes. It's a safe neighborhood. And I can go to the store during the day and know when I come home, my screens, my doors, my windows, nobody's going to bother it. And I too am familiar with substance abuse, alcohol abuse, from my direct sibling and my mother. So, God love them, but you know what? That's the first and foremost thing on their mind. You know, you try to fight it, and you want to go the straight and narrow path, but it doesn't always work that way. And again, we got the party store, quarter mile away. You've got a marijuana dispensary right there. God forbid, what are we trying to do? And now let's put all that in our neighborhood? You guys, I mean, they had good intentions, again, but we've got vacant buildings. You've got a building right behind the cop shop. I realize that's in the township. It's empty. The old birthing center by General Hospital. How many beds did that accompany? All my grandkids were born there. That's sitting empty, and I understand that's in the township. It's not in the Muskegon. But then you're talking about in the material that was given to us about a medical facility. So does that mean that if somebody is detoxing, it's going to be administered? Are they going to receive some kind of a drug? I don't even know. That's going to help them over their DTs or whatever it's called, But it's just the idea that I feel safe in my neighborhood, and I'm not going to. It's really going to have an impact on all of us, my kids, my grandkids, and we see all these kids playing in the neighborhood. They play, and they play tag, and they have a good time, and now we got to watch over our backs. My grandkids walk up to the dollar store, General Dollar, Family Dollar. It is a good community, and we all try to do our best and make our houses and our homes. I just think it's pretty invasive. It's like this company are looking to purchase the church right there on the corner, Apple and Roberts, and it's like consuming all of it. It's like what do we do? What leg do we stand on? And I'm just I came here thinking one person, 2 people, 3 people might oppose it, but I am so glad to see the majority of us are not in favor of it. We are not in favor of it. So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, commissioners
Good evening.
and neighbors. I would like to make a few comments.
Can we have your name and address, please?
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Glenda Moore, 1236 East Isabella.
Thank you.
I have lived there for 46 years. My husband and I, he's now deceased, have raised a family there. We struggled to keep our home and to take care of it. There were times when the house payment mortgage was late, but we persevered. That is our home. So why do I, after 46 years, disabled and a widow, have to worry about who's living next door to me,
who's living across the street. What am I, chopped liver? You know, don't I deserve something? Are these residents that you want to put in these homes and across the street, are they more important than me and my neighbors? I think I really have a hard time with it. That's my home. I've grown there. As a family, as a neighborhood, we look out for each other. We take care of each other. I worry about all the traffic, and believe me, there's traffic there on that corner. And not only that, the bus stops right there. The school bus to pick up kids and to drop them off. Do we drop them off in front of a rehab center? Come on. Do I have to go out my back door and can't enjoy sitting on my deck without looking at a rehab home next door? That's not fair. That's not fair to me, and it's not fair to my neighbors. And truth be told, if you search in your heart, I don't care what you say, you would not want them in your neighborhood. They would not want them in your backyard. And that is where you live today. And that's why you chose where you live. Just like we chose that area, don't take it away from us. And give it to somebody else. And not only that, turnover every 6 months. They're not going to make a home there. It's just a stopping place. And then there'll be more, and there'll be more, and there'll be more problems. Give us our homes, our neighborhood. Take that stuff, and I know there's a need for it. I honestly do. But I don't want it in my backyard, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to any one of the agenda items at this time? If not, that takes us to consent agenda. Commissioners, you have received and have had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to have removed for further discussion? Anything down this way, Commissioners? Commissioner German?
Yes, item D.
Item
D as in David.
Okay. Any others, Commissioner? Commissioner Emery?
Item N.
Item N. And Commissioner Johnson, I believe I saw your hand.
Yes. Items C and I.
C and I.
And if there are no others, I move to approve the consent agenda minus items C, D, I, and N.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner German, to accept the consent agenda as presented, minus item C, D, I, and N. Did I get that right? Okay. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Galvin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Rinsama-Sibiga.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And I believe item C, that was Commissioner German, correct?
No, D for me.
Okay. Item C, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to amend and adopt Chapter 70, Article 2, Section 31A of the Code of Ordinances for Solid Waste.
Support. Been moved by Commissioner Johnson, supported by Commissioner Rinsama-Sibiga, to amend and adopt Chapter 70, Article 2, Section 31A of the Code of Ordinance for Solid Waste. Go right ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I pulled this from consent agenda, not so much to speak specifically to this, but the corollary of our overall reiteration or reinforcement of our rules and regulations with regard to refuse removal. This one is just a little bit of housekeeping born out of our conversation from a couple weeks ago, so that we could bump up the time in which you can set out your refuse cart the night before. We had constituents suggest that, given the winter time, it gets dark earlier, and so they'd like to be able to set it out sooner while it's still light. So I thought that was a reasonable idea, and the manager followed through and brought this back to us. So I appreciate that. What I wanted to bring up, though, is the one aspect of the other rules or regulations, because a lot of it was being said that this is just a reiteration or reinforcement of what was already in our ordinance or in the rules. And one thing that's caused a little bit of a hubbub that I'm hearing today and recently, as people are becoming aware of the change, is with regard to the placement after it's pulled from the curb, in terms of it having to be concealed or having to be not noticeable from the street, and many residents having difficulty with that, and that expressing that it's not been a problem for them or their neighbors having it, tucked right up against their house, behind the house line, or it's not obtrusive, but it may still be noticeable. And I know I talked to a deputy city manager about that before we approved that, and she was saying at the time, it's not like we're going to fine you because we can see you. Technically, we want you behind the front line. But I bring this up now not necessarily to get, I guess it'd be nice to get some clarity, or to maybe potentially revisit that aspect of it, because I didn't see it in the ordinance that exists before. So it looks like that was an addition to the rules and regulations. And so I do want to get clarity is, given that that rule is not in the ordinance itself, can you be fined for it? Okay. So that will provide some, I want to acknowledge anyone that did not see legal counsel. He shook his head, no, you will not be fined for your trash cart, your refuse cart, being visible from the street.
Assuming that there's nothing in the ordinance that requires it to be placed someplace, because of that I don't.
Okay.
But certainly you cannot be fined or charged with a misdemeanor or civil infraction for violating our policies.
Okay. That's good clarity. Yeah, I looked at the ordinance that exists, and I could not find anything with regard to 10 feet behind the private line. Couldn't find anything in terms of visibility or notice, or having to be screened. And so, we can have that continued conversation. But I wanted to provide some reassurance to our residents, because many are, kind of frustrated. Like, where am I supposed to put this, or how this is going to be a huge hindrance or problem for them, particularly in the winter time. And so I wanted to get clarity. So thank you on that. And, we could perhaps continue this further if we need to tighten that up, or how do we better explain that to folks, or maybe they explain that in that policy document itself. But thank you for that clarity right now. And that's really all I have on this matter.
Okay, very good. Anyone else have any observation on this? Vice Mayor.
That was a concern of mine too. And if you can't be fined and ticketed, why have it in the policy? I think it should maybe be removed.
Well, I think it's an encouragement so that it's not sitting on somebody's front lawn or remaining, very obtrusive.
Yeah,
I think most people will wheel it back, off, a ways.
I think with that said, then maybe we should have verbiage in there stating front yard. Shouldn't be in the front yard instead of just visible from the street.
Well, that's something that can be reclarified, revisited. I don't think there's any issue at this point, especially because it's not finable. But we can certainly, deal with definitions sooner than later, without a doubt, looking at those realities. But I was quite for whatever reason, going back to time immemorial. Something struck me about it, being removed off the front someplace. floating out there in the ether. So we need to find that. But again, good clarification, without a doubt, is needed. We can continue the conversation, but at this point, nobody's going to get a fine. But we'll be encouraged to make sure that as of the end of garbage day, that the hopper's taken off and off the front and, move to less obtrusive area. Commissioner Ramsey.
Yeah, I think that we need to table this discussion until city staff can notate within this document that the now refuse cart and or hopper has a place that it lives in everybody's house or near their home or behind a fence or in a hole or up in a tree. Because I think that for us to really get behind this and to make the difference that our neighbors implored of us, especially Commissioner German and Commissioner Johnson and myself, that let's come out swinging with a solid product that we can follow and enforce for everyone. And we don't have to do that today. So I would really suggest that we table this until city staff has some time to finesse through that and then show it back to us again with those direct points.
Commissioner Risman.
You don't mean table the current agenda item or the motion, which is about the solid waste ordinance, right? You mean the discussion about placement of the hopper.
Is the ordinance about the placement of the hopper separate from the one that we're viewing?
The ordinance, the multiple pages of ordinance relating to sanitation does not specify where the trash container is supposed to be when it's not on the street, is my understanding from what
talks about placement at the curb and removal from the curb.
Yeah, but it does not specify where it must be the other 6 days of the week. Likewise, you had discussion last time that you want the trash receptacle should be facing towards the road. Likewise, the ordinances don't address that. There are multiple things that your policy addresses that the ordinance doesn't. Those are two. If that's not what you want, I think you need to have a conversation with Ms. Mikesel on, no, we want something different in our policy, and we want something different in the ordinance. And I'm trying to draft that, but that's a staff discussion more.
But at this point, we're dealing with
single item
with the solid waste ordinance amendment as opposed to the policy discussion that we had with last meeting.
Yes.
So then I guess my next natural question would be, if this is a single item and we're sort of picking the ordinances apart to build this policy, wouldn't it make sense just to go back to the policy, draft the ordinances that support it that we want, and then put it all through at once? But if that's not, that's okay too.
But
we can vote tonight.
I think you adopted the policy last.
Yeah, we adopted the policy. So the ordinance itself spells out that the city manager may create rules and regulations relating to that ordinance itself that is then adopted by the commission. And so that piece of the policy has been adopted, but it's not spelled out specifically in the ordinance. There are several other aspects of that policy that are stipulated in the ordinance, and so I wanted clarity as to what is enforceable in terms of finding and what's not. And given the feedback we've received from constituents since adopting that, is it prudent to adjust the language with regard to placement of it after it's been removed from the curb? And I like Vice Mayor Hood's suggestion of providing that clarity in the language of the policy itself, specifically saying, whether we say absolute minimum, it needs to be behind the front line of the house,
yes,
but preferably, more than 10 feet, or preferably screened, or preferably behind bushes, or preferably, you can say what your preference is, but know clearly what the expectation is, and whether it's enforceable or not. So I think Vice Mayor Hood was in the right, going in the right direction in terms of let's go back to staff and ask for some clarifying language, and that can be brought back to a future meeting. So it's not like we're deciding anything right now. I just wanted to bring that up because that discussion was done as part and parcel of this specific ordinance item. And so I thought it was just appropriate to get clarity on that. So we all have it, and we can share it with our residents, and we can know how to move forward in terms of placement of that bin.
And that clarification can be reached by it's not tucked in here in the ordinance as much as we need to develop that clarity and have additional discussion then if need be on the policy that we adopted. Okay. Okay. Anything additional, commissioners? Commissioner German?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So basically, the item here is C. What we're what the motion was made on is pretty much set in stone. We're just looking to amend and then come back with the discussion that we just had about the policy.
On the policy.
Yeah, and the particulars that would, I guess, clarify how we want to move forward and proceed when it comes to Commissioner Johnson's thoughts of making sure that, from a practical matter, we're going to make sure that the cart and the language is in the policy that states that, okay, this is how, so we don't have any confusion with our residents and any backlash or anything like that, pretty much.
Clarification, yes.
Yeah, yeah, basically clarification. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Roll call then on the ordinance amendment.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Gallron,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Winston-Pacifica,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item D, Commissioner German.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the Amity Avenue Bridge removal resolution and authorize the clerk to sign.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner German, supported by the Vice Mayor, to approve the Amity Avenue Bridge removal resolution and authorize the clerk to sign. Commissioner German?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I see Director Evans there, and I actually appreciate the work that you're doing and getting back with me with the questions and concerns that I've had from residents in the community about the construction and stuff that's going on in the city. With this item here, we talked about it before, the removal of the Amity Street Bridge. Just wanted to kind of get a timeline on when that project would be completed, but also concerns from the residents with the repairing of the streets on Amity, questions about driveways being repaired, sidewalks, and we talked about sewage and water lines. What can they expect overall from this project?
Sure. To speak to your first question, the timeline of this project will depend a lot on the state budget process. So if this project stays whole and the state budget process stays whole, it'll be approved once the state approves their budget, and then it would be fast-tracked and would be constructed next year in 2022. A lot of things could still happen with that state budget, obviously. This could get removed. It could not make the final cut. All those things could happen. But if everything stays on track, the bridge would get removed in 2022. And we as a city would be responsible to rebuild the road at that location instead of a bridge during that same time frame. So there would be months, where there is nothing there while the bridge is gone and the road is rebuilt. But yeah, I guess in whole, it would all happen next year in 2022.
Okay.
This particular project would not impact very many driveways. Maybe just one on the north side of Amity right next to the bridge would be impacted by it. It's a pretty small, compact project for this bridge work. So, and we would not do any utility work as a part of this project either. So all the other utility work that's taking place on Amity this year is well underway, on track to finish this fall, October timeframe. And that piece further to the east includes new water, sewer, driveways, sidewalk repairs where needed, everything like that. So that'll kind of start to take shape. Probably in the next month, you'll see them start to build the road back through that area. They're just finishing the last of the underground pipe work this week when they make the connection at Getty Street that we notified about a closure on. So,
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, thank you. And I ride around in the neighborhood, talk to the citizens, and they're very happy about the roads being repaired and what the city is doing. Also, as you come over the Amity Street Bridge and you go back toward the farmers market, that area where the Myrtle and Murphy Street is that there's some construction going on over there as well. So I just like to give you the feedback and the public's feedback from what I've heard from the citizens. They're very pleased about what the city is doing for us repairing the roads and the sewer lines.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Anything else for Director Evans while we have him on board? Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Evans. So by restoring the road, we're going to be filling in that valley. And
Yes.
then having a road at grade.
Yeah, it would probably come down a little bit,
Okay.
to be more in tune with the sections of Amit on either side. But yeah, essentially you would fill in the hole where the bridge was at grade.
Okay. Okay. Does that preclude? I can't remember if we talked about because this has been something that we came up a while back. At one point, I think we were talking about doing a rails to trails through there. Would that preclude that entirely, or would there be the possibility that you could have once you fill it in, that you could have a carve out to accommodate a bike path if we ever go that route?
Yeah, we did. We had to reach out to the DNR as a part of this project to get their permission to basically do that, because we would fill out onto their property at, like a 1-on-10 slope. So you could eventually build a bike path through there if that ever came to fruition.
We would just
Up and it would cross the street at grade.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that'd be the easiest to maintain too, then I suppose.
Yep. Make it mobile.
Yeah. Okay. And then one other question. This is rather than pull all that other item, just have a question about the Ottawa one.
Sure.
That the bridge is being removed on that one. Are we going to put a pedestrian and bicycle bridge to access Richards Park from Ottawa still? Is that something that we may be contemplating, or?
No, I don't think so at this
No?
time. You've got the bridge on the existing bike path that's just right to the north of there. And then we were able to build a new driveway in out to restore the access to Richards Park. So I don't have any real immediate term
Need?
plans for a bridge there
Okay.
in the near future.
Okay, and you don't see a need for it, given the other access point.
I think, yeah, you've got access from the trail and now you have access from the road, so I don't see a need for it right now.
Okay, and the access from the road is coming right off of
the state highway.
Moses Jones Parkway, and
Yeah, the
okay.
Causeway, M120, Moses Jones, whatever it would be called there.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Director Evans.
Thank you. Anything else for the director? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gallren,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Pacifica,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item N, Commissioner Emery.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Item I. And here we are. That was Commissioner Johnson, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Item I, Commissioner Johnson.
I move to authorize staff to contract with Sinclair Recreation on a new playground for Reese Park in an amount not to exceed $365,000.
Support.
I'm
Support.
okay. Getting hysteria. It has been moved by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Emery to authorize staff to contract with Sinclair Recreation on a new playground for Reese Park in an amount not to exceed $365,000. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, because you had two similar items on here, didn't want to pull both of them, but I just want to remark about the other one with regard to Bucoma. And that is, while there was some, I don't want to say discord, while the preference of that poll differed from the preference of Disability Network West Michigan in terms of that playground, I just want to commend staff for taking that into consideration, realizing that the Disability Network West Michigan had this option being their preference for its various different reasons about access. The public had another preference in terms of their selection of that picture, which picture they preferred for playground, and you took that input into account from Disability Network West Michigan and are asking the contractor to modify it, to incorporate that. And so I think that's just wonderful. So I just want to say thank you for that and making that park improvement more accessible. So thank you. With regard to Reese, I just wonder again, there was a poll that was put out there on Bang the Table, not our city website, but another online platform that asks people to select a photo of their preference for the playground, and our clerk's putting that up there right now. And we're just wondering to what extent that selection of the options, influenced your recommendation, and where did your preference as the Parks Department and DPW, where'd your preference align with that public? Just can you help me and help inform us of your process for bringing this recommendation to us?
Sure. So we did an open solicitation for proposals on both these parks concurrently. We received 7 proposals for each park, 7 suppliers, and they both submitted options for both parks, I guess. We reviewed them as staff. We looked at, what we have existing, which features of which all the designs we liked, and we shortlisted it down to our top 3 at each of those parks. We then had each of the manufacturers kind of go back and recreate their renderings in the same fashion, same color scheme, same type of views. So it was pretty comparable that, as you're voting on a public standpoint, you're looking at the same thing for each one. You're not picking the one with the prettiest colors or the better view, something like that. So we were really comfortable with any of the 3 options that were given for those parks, and those we felt were the best fit for each of those sites.
All right, thank you. Because I noticed when we break out, because that diagram right there shows like the percentage of, wait, which one is it? I don't see titles.
Oh, sorry.
That's the different options. And then there's the other one that does a breakout of how many were residents versus non-residents versus workers and so on and so forth. So I imagine that we're going to be using this service further in the future in terms of polling or surveying folks as to what the public input is. Are we going to be more mindful or dig into the resident responses and maybe give more weight to that versus the responses from people who, are a student in the city but don't live or work here, or they vacation in the city but don't live work here, or they live in a neighboring community? Those kind of responses, so that we're more localized or targeted in terms of the feedback and how we're applying that.
Yeah, I think it was a learning experience for us. It was the first time we had done a poll with Bang the Table. And we, after the fact, found out that we could not get the data directly back out of what did just the residents vote for on this. So we kind of had to compare the list of everybody that's registered versus the list of everybody that voted and try to mesh that up ourselves. So I definitely think it's something we will learn from and get better at the next time we do one of these. The other thing I guess that weighed on my mind was a lot of these improvements are being funded by our park passes, which are paid predominantly by our non-residents. So I didn't necessarily think that we could discount or maybe not totally discount, but their opinions needed to matter as well, because they were really the ones that were helping fund a lot of this project.
I appreciate that perspective, and I wouldn't want to exclude anyone from engaging City Hall, because in my opinion, every non-resident is a potential future resident of this city. However, from my perspective, at the end of the day, it's the residents who own this city, own all of its assets, own the parks, and they're the ones that should be given the greatest credence, the ones that should be given the greatest weighting in terms of how we are using those resources and acting upon those parks. So that's my perspective. But you're absolutely right. This is a learning curve. And this is the first time that we've used this that for these surveys. And I was excited about the prospect of using Bang the Table to improve and enhance and increase community engagement. Just some feedback from me on the survey, for what it's worth. What could be helpful, just as part of this learning curve and continuous improvement, what could be helpful in soliciting feedback from a resident on that is, in addition to showing like photos of here's a playground, but if we could provide a list of here are the different items in that playground, so they could read it and not just see it, and here are the costs of this option versus that option for this option, so they've got some more context.
Sure.
When they're making their decision. And I know you provided it to us, but like the accessibility, like which equipment items are considered accessible or ADA compliant, which ones aren't. so that when people are picking one of those options, they have that information as well. So just more context if they're interested in that information. Some people might not care about it and just select based on the picture, but other people will be like, oh yeah, this is really interesting. You know, these are the details as they're answering and giving their input on how you might want to proceed with spending those dollars. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said, we kind of had Disability Network looking at it at the same time as the public poll was going on, so I didn't have it at my fingertips. But no, I can see where you're at. You know, we tried to make it as simple as possible and just, you know, one screenshot for each one, picked by that preference. But yeah, definitely look at more information and better weighting or screening of our questions in the future too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then one other thing just with regard to the site, because this site has such, it's connectmkgcity.com, by the way, anyone who's interested in checking out the site. It's got really great potential. And I'll just say one thing that holds me back from like more excitedly endorsing or promoting it or advocating for this site is one aspect of the term of service. And so, you know, hopefully we can look into if we can modify this term of service, because one aspect of it is by accessing the site, you expressly agree that the site's not a public forum and your content does not constitute protected speech under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. So that's one aspect of the term of service that it doesn't sit well with me that we're asking people to engage with us, but in order to engage with us, you have to waive your First Amendment right to do so.
Just want to point out, we didn't write that.
Oh, I know. You didn't write that,
No,
but the service
no,
provider
no,
did.
nobody
So
did.
if we can talk to the service provider about adjusting that, because I know I've heard from many others, many of our residents, it doesn't sit well with many of our residents either, that in order to engage our government using this site, they have to waive their First Amendment right to do so. And it shouldn't sit for any of us. We all took an oath to defend and protect and uphold the Constitution.
That sounds like a good topic for further discussion at another time.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out and bring it to your attention, because I've been hearing it. This hasn't come up yet at a meeting, and I wanted to relay that.
Okay.
But I love what you're doing. Thank you.
Very good.
Anything else for the director on the playground? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Excuse me, I got lost in all of that. What are we?
Voting on the
Reese Park, or the Reese Playground.
Okay. Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Rinsaba Civica, Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Gowron.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ooh. Now item F. Commissioner Emery.
I move to revise the allocation of the municipal senior millage funding to reduce the allocation to Muskegon County senior millage home repair by $20,000 and to reallocate those funds to the Senior Power Produce Program at the Muskegon Farmers Market.
Support. It's been moved by Commissioner Emery, seconded by Commissioner Rinsama-Sabiga to revise the allocation of municipal senior millage funding to reduce the allocation to the Muskegon County Senior Millage Home Repair by $20,000 and to reallocate those funds to the Senior Power of Produce Program at the Muskegon Farmers Market. Commissioner Emery.
And look how wonderful she is. I didn't even have to ask her to come up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you explain a little more about this?
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what my concerns are, that we're taking $20,000 from a very needy program and putting it to another very needy program. And so somewhere somebody loses anyway.
I appreciate that synopsis, and I'd like to share with you and to all of you that both of the programs are needed, and no one should be without in either of the programs. So we were going to lose the senior produce before the fall, before the end of this year. I mean, the end of this month, it would be over. And what you see there, I went there this morning about 9:40. What the senior produce is It's a fantastic program for any senior in Muskegon County. They can come with I'll just say it like this. They come with $4 because of the program, they get 8. They double.
Yes.
We're talking about produce. We're talking about squash and strawberries and your very favorites. The farmers market is huge in Muskegon. We love the farmers market. We love the farmers. And we love the fact that a senior from anywhere can come and access what they like double. And they have shown up. 1,700 people showed up yes. So I couldn't believe the number, so I had to go see for myself. And so last week, I went to see it, and I thought, well, let's go again today and see. It's every Tuesday I'm going to defer to Ann, who has all the numbers, because the numbers of the people that come for a time frame on a Tuesday is outrageous. And so to say they won't get apples this fall, they won't get squash or pumpkins or all of those things. So we have money for priority home repair. We have money for Muskegon County seniors. And so what we're doing is taking all of our programs, and what we're able to do, which is exciting, is to stagger. If a person is 60 and they live in the city, they qualify for 2 programs. And yes, maybe we can do the plumbing for one and priority for the other. If it's a person outside of our city, we only have the senior millage program. And because of the municipal program money, which is what we're talking about here today, we're able to have a savings. And that's how I look at this. This program is more of a savings account. Annually, we receive $112,000 for seniors through the senior millage program. And it's a 3-year allocation, so we don't have to reapply. So we have over $360,000 for our seniors throughout the county. And we're able to access the funds, assist the seniors, and the majority of them truly need roofs. But for those that need plumbing, electric, mechanical, foundation, we can go to their home and we have funds. So we're not lacking in any way. There's no deficit in any of our programs. We, and in terms that everyone can understand, we got bank. We have money to cure this. However, we don't have enough contractors to line up and say, you go here, you go here. So yes, we have a list of 30 plus people for roofs throughout our county. And we have another list of 20 plus for plumbing and that. And so the plumber goes here, but he's doing a new house here and he's doing that. So we're moving and we're shaking and we've got cash and we don't have anything lacking. And that's why I didn't want to see the senior produce program go away. I don't want it just sitting there until we need it next year, April. Do you see what I'm saying? So yeah. We have money and we can do it, and we're doing it fairly well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Ramsey and then Commissioner Jensen.
Yeah, so I just want to say great job, Onita, in recognizing this opportunity to move those funds around and to not have a program suffer with an excess in another. And from what you just explained, which was going to be my question, is that, the allocation versus the forecast spend is not the same. So we have the extra to do it and to save this program. So thank you for being spot on and recognizing that and putting it into motion, because I know that through my work, I often hear about this program specifically. And it's cherished by many of the people that go there and need it, but it's done in a way that we don't typically address hunger or marginalization in our community. This is done with dignity and with respect, and it's a wonderful experience to go down there and get your veggies, and it's not standing in front of a big old hot sweaty food truck having exhaust in your face and waiting in line for 6 hours. And that is the way that we need to help serve our neighbors, because they are in fact our neighbors. And so thank you for that, and great job.
Oh, thank you. I feel like, wow, I'm the queen of everything, right? But
You've been knocking it out of the park since that survey.
well, here's the thing. It was Ann that approached me because we have a larger budget than most, as you see on your paper. And so she said, "Do you have anything?" And I was thinking, this is just sitting here until we need it. And when she said what she said, I said, I got to see it. I can't believe it. So for those of you who are over 60, you're a senior, and you can come to the farmer's market on Tuesday and take advantage of this program.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it is a phenomenal program that we've seen record use this year. I happened to be down there today volunteering, and we had over 1,400 folks come
today.
through
Wow.
today. And that was on the heels of you saying
Yes.
1,700
Yeah,
last week.
1,700.
And everyone was asking, is this going to continue? Is this going to continue? Is this going to continue? Is this the last day? Are we going to have more funding? And there are many seniors that were very, very eager to see it continue.
Of course.
And yeah, it was a great time though down there. It went smoothly, efficiently. Hats off to the Shoreline and Fruitport Lions Club. They're the fiduciary for this program. And hats off to Morning Bear, who is lines up the volunteers and make sure that there are volunteers there every Tuesday to service those 1,000, 1,500 seniors coming through in just a few hours. And so great job to all the volunteers and the fiduciary of that, and thank you to the clerk and Director Bailey as well for identifying resources that are being underutilized one area and moving them someplace where they can have a greater benefit to our community. And you answered exactly what I wanted to hear, because I was a little confused as well, or like, why would we move from home repair into here? Because in years past, I'd always heard home repair was such a in demand. But you explained it very well, that it's not that there's insufficient demand for these dollars, it's an inability to spend them because of the lack of contractors right now. And so rather than let that money just sit idle, we can reallocate it. And so thank you for that foresight. And hopefully the contractor situation resolves itself. We've been having issues throughout the economy with supply chain and whatnot and labor shortages. So hopefully that will resolve itself and we can get those monies to support our seniors and keep them safe and secure in their homes. But thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for Director Bailey, Commissioner German, and then Commissioner Emmer?
Go ahead. Well, okay. Yes, thank you for your great work, Ms. Bailey. And myself and Ms. Bailey, I'm always addressing the matter and the need for home repair for our seniors and underserved residents in the city of Muskegon. I'm pushing the senior millage, grant, CDBG block grant, also for home repair. And I'm glad you clarified how this would take place to allocate dollars to support a cause that's, of this food program. Because I was a little concerned as well as Commissioner Johnson, why are we taking money from a needed program and then putting it here? You go all over, the country, people are hurting, and there's a need to feed, citizens that are less fortunate or don't have the means due to this pandemic. I was always trying to allocate to see if I can get more dollars for the senior millage program, because the program allows you to get the services, but then there's a time period until you can receive more services. And I would like to see that decrease somewhat as time goes on, because some homes are 50, 70, almost 100 years old that need a roof, and something else happens like electrical work, and they can't get it done until maybe 4 or 5 years later. By that time, something else happens, and then the house is, not up to code. And people, this is how citizens sometimes lose their homes, because they can't afford the repairs and stuff like that. So, but for a need like this, I can support what you're doing, and your department and also the clerk as well. So thank you and continue the good work.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Emery?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to our clerk for bringing it to your attention and thank you for explaining it so well. It certainly has shed a totally different light upon it, and absolutely we need to feed our seniors and make that a priority because they have to eat every day. So I just wish we could actually add some more money to it. So
Could we change that number to 30,000 right now?
Well, honestly, 20,000 is going to last 2 more weeks.
Right.
If that, like, when you're serving over 1,000 seniors a week and it's $8 in tokens per senior, you're looking at least $8,000.
And we
per
are
week.
in the harvest season right now.
Right.
So
yes,
I reached out to Senior Resources today, and I can't get anywhere. Oh, look at somebody might have an idea.
So, will somebody call on me so I don't get in trouble?
The red pen.
So, there's probably going to be some opportunity there for us to speak to United Way and the services in the Alice population, because I know that there might be some mini grants there that we can apply for. It won't be a lot, but it might get you through a week. I think that if we are able to partner with Senior Resources and H-Well Services, I know that both Chris and Lisa have an opportunity to recognize things like this that continue to feed our senior population, because they work specifically with doing that themselves and they are overwhelmed in the best way possible. Correct? Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Colley, Lisa Tyler, thank you.
Got it.
But I also think that while we're obviously going to be like, here's your 20 grand, if you guys could go back to the drawing board and look, and it's like I always tell the director, chief, and Director Paulson, is this the pie in the sky? Like, give us the pie in the sky, give us what you need to survive, and then give us what you'll take, right? So maybe as a team, you guys sit down and look at that pie in the sky, what gets us through the season, so everybody gets a pumpkin or a mini Christmas tree. I don't know.
Absolutely.
And then come back and say, hey guys, so this is what else we're looking. And then as you do that, Onita, you have the opportunity to forecast what the next 2.5 years looks like under those funds for home repair, so we can have a better idea versus the need that we've served in the past and how far that allocation is going to go. Of course, will be an estimate because we know that the cost of construction right now in our nation is ridiculous, and that it changes and constantly. But if there's a way for us to further this at least through the rest of the season till the grant itself re-ups, let's look at that.
Well, definitely Anne has taken a forefront in contacting other municipalities and townships who receive the same municipal funds that we receive.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, will the other cities and townships provide a little bit of assistance for this program that's assisting all our county seniors?
And kudos to Roosevelt Park, who did step up to the plate this year and did give us some money.
There you go.
I believe $2,000 towards this program. And last year, Muskegon Township gave us $5,000. If we could get more, this is senior money just for, allocated towards seniors. If we could get more of them to do that, and we can break it down to say how many of your seniors from every municipality are coming to us. And we did do that last year.
Have that data.
And I just asked for that information today so that I can do that again.
Well, as we sit here today, I know the clock is ticking with funds. As the Commissioner said, we're probably out of money within, this will last us 2 weeks. So would we go ahead and authorize this allocation tonight and then revisit additional allocation for additional number?
In the
I'm
next
just
2
wondering,
weeks.
do we wait a couple more weeks, or does that leave us, without any money to operate, Commissioner?
I think that's a good idea. That's what the staff request was. I do think it's a countywide program, and we should talk to our other partners before just allocating more tonight. So I think we should pass this motion and have some further conversations.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I was just wondering if I agree with the sentiments both you just made. The only question I have is that we're 3 weeks out from our next meeting, and so I'm wondering, does staff, you feel confident you can pull together $10,000 from other municipalities or other pots to keep this going until our next meeting, which would be our next general session, which would be September 14th? Or would you rather us if there's room, Director Grant, funding wise from that pot, would you rather us up that somewhat, give you a little breathing room, and then work your magic and trying to pull resources together and debrief us on the 14th or at a work session as to here's what we came together with, this is how much we have to work with. So
Do you want to pull 10,000? I mean 30,000 from the home repair and put?
that's what I was wondering, if you want to up it to 25 or 30, like do we have some flexibility or latitude there to get us through September 14th? And I just wanted your perspective from staff on that.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yeah, I just want us to make sure that we're doing the math. So if we're talking about adding an additional week to get us through, and we're saying we're spending, what is it, 8,000 a week right now to run program?
To serve
13.
1,000 seniors, it's $8,000 a week.
And we're serving more like 1,400
Yeah.
right
And
now.
that's an average?
Yeah, it has been, yes.
14 times 4, right?
Times
No,
eight.
it's $8.
Oh, it's 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
get-
what's
You
14,000?
get 4 tokens that are worth $2 each.
Yeah. So do some quick math because
11,200
per week.
per week.
How much have we spent? Sorry, we should be. How much have we spent this year? I thought it was we allocated.
So today we should be, well, I haven't gotten today's numbers, but it should be around 61,000 we've spent.
That the city of Muskegon has spent.
That's 40,000 was from the millage. The city spent 15,000. We allocated 15,000 in there so far ourselves, and then we got the senior portion from a grant that we applied for from that, and then the other 15,000 came from the senior portion of the city of Muskegon. And then we had a couple of thousand from Roosevelt Park.
So we would actually need to allocate. We would actually need to allocate another $13,000 tonight, which is more than 50% of the ask already. And I'm not 100% comfortable with that without knowing about a reforecast.
Right.
Not that I don't know that you don't know your business, but
I'm getting text messages right now from others offering to help me go find some money. So
Aw. See, that's what I'm saying.
that's what it is.
Put it out there.
So how much do you need for the next 3 weeks until we're back here?
that ends up being about 34,000. Now I've got a little bit of cushion in there, so I actually think as long as everybody doesn't show up in the next and our numbers go drastically higher, I do have some cushion money that we could make it for the 3 weeks with 30,000.
If we upped it to 30,000, gives you an adequate time to also project going forward through the remainder of the season.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And also look at other options within the community. And we'll have a fuller picture, but in the meantime, the most important thing is to make sure that we have the funds available to maintain the program until we're back here in 3 weeks. And we have a game plan to move forward throughout the rest of the harvest and the market season. Commissioner Ramsey, you had a additional.
Oh no, I was just going to tell Ken to write a check.
Will you accept a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery, to up that to 30,000?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
And that will be coming from the millage, the millage home repair, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct, for now.
Okay.
Unless you have a recommendation elsewhere to pull it from.
No, I mean, it has to come from this fund. Right?
Correct.
And if you want to take it from the general or elsewhere, okay.
Let's see what we start.
So then, do we need a second on the amendment?
I second.
No.
Okay.
Okay. So we can just vote on everything in total.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Winston-Massiviga,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Gallren,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Director Bailey and Madam Clerk. That brings us to public hearings. We get this read out, and then we'll have a presentation by staff, and then do a public hearing.
Sorry.
Not at all.
So it's a revocation of an IFT for 441 West Western Avenue. Pigeon Hill Brewing Company has requested to revoke the industrial facilities exemption certificate at their 441 Western Avenue facility in order to convert the building into commercial use.
Good evening, Mr. Francis.
Good evening. So Pigeon Hill does not brew beer in there anymore. They have that at their new facility, and they are planning to rehab the building and put 3 new commercial suites in there. And one will be for the tap room, and then there will be 2 additional retail suites. We just got the renderings in last week. They look very cool. I'm going to take off the stucco siding and restore the original brickwork that's there. It's going to look really nice with transparent windows. But in order to apply for a commercial facilities exemption certificate, they first need to revoke the IFT, and we'll plan on coming back to the first meeting in September for the commercial facility exemption.
Good. Any questions for Mr. Franzik? Sounds like a good process and good use of the property, seeing as how things have changed. And if there's nothing for Mr. Franzik from the commission, are there any members of the public that would like to make public comment on the revocation of the IFT at 441 West Western Avenue, the Pigeon Hill Brewing Company property? If not, I entertain a motion. Commissioner Johnson.
There are none. I move to close the public hearing and approve the revocation of the industrial facilities exemption certificate number 2015-272 at 441 West Western Avenue.
Support. It's been moved by Commissioner Johnson, supported by the Vice Mayor, to close the public hearing and to approve the revocation of the industrial facilities exemption certificate number 2015-272 at 441 West Western Avenue. Any further observations, questions? Commissioner?
I just say I think it's glad they're going in this direction, and appreciate the work staff's doing on this with Pigeon Hill, and look forward to further developments.
Because we need more storefronts. Very good. Roll call, please.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Muskegon,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Goldman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to unfinished business. Item A. This was tabled from 8/10/21 to today's date, 8/24/2021. May I add this read out, please?
This is a pedicab ordinance. Summary is City Commission is being asked to consider an ordinance to allow and regulate pedicabs. City Commission is also being asked to consider an amendment to allow consumption or possession of alcohol, liquors in parks and playgrounds while participating in a pedicab. The city has been approached by a person wishing to operate a party bike. Staff has worked with the city attorney and is proposing the pedicab ordinance presented, as well as an amendment to Chapter 58, Article 1, to allow consumption or possession of alcoholic liquors in parks and playgrounds while participating in a pedicab.
Thank you. So all we need is a motion in order to discuss. Commissioner Muskegon.
I'll move to adopt the new ordinance allowing and regulating pedicabs and to amend Charter 58, Article 1 of the City Code of Ordinances to allow consumption of possession of alcoholic liquors in parks and playgrounds while participating in a pedicab.
Support. It's been moved by Commissioner Muskegon, seconded by Commissioner Johnson, to adopt the new ordinance allowing and regulating pedicabs and to amend Chapter 58, Article 1 of the City Code of Ordinances to allow consumption or possession of alcoholic liquors. And is that in? Should be and. In playgrounds while participating in a pedicab. And who's leading out on this topic?
Yep.
Mayor, I can.
Okay. We get a update, recap, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This came before us 2 weeks ago, and you got the ordinance to your packet, in which we went through the ordinance. We were satisfied with that. But one question came up was about when the, I call them the party bike, would enter a park. And I've talked to the owner about that, and we don't see the routes actually going in any park at this time. They may go around Hackley Park. They may wind up at Pier Marquette Park, but you know how that situation is set up. But we did arrive at a decision that when the party bike would come to a stop, the person or persons on it would stay within 2 feet of the pedicab while they positioned or whatever. They would not wander off or go in the park or whatever. That would be the remedy so the commissioners understand they're confined basically to the party bike or a very close proximity. I think that was one of the major questions that the commissioners had. Our experience is zero with these. I've done some personal research, gone to Grand Rapids, watched those. I had a family member that actually operated one in Indianapolis, so I know quite a bit about these. And so we put this together, and we believe if we start this now, we will know in about 3 to 5 weeks how this is going, and we can come back to you if we needed to add or subtract anything from this ordinance. Kind of the summary version.
Vice Mayor?
So if I heard you correctly, Chief, the alcohol is allowed in the, because they come to a stop at Pier Marquette. So they can only be, if they get out 2 feet within the party bike, so they can't wander around with the drinks.
Right.
And then come back.
And that would prohibit them from, like, taking their drink off the party bike and going to a bar, for instance.
Right.
You know, the operator would, the driver, so to speak, within, they're supervising this. The person could step off, they're not being, get off, stretch up, whatever, decide what they're going to do. As long as they're in that proximity, they're okay. Then it would have to be put on the party bike before they exited. My observation is this is their transportation. And for example, we talked tonight, let's say they operate between 7th and Pine, for instance. That would be the track. Whether it's Webster, Clay, or whatever, they would go down to, let's say, Mike's Inn, they go up to, like, Rake's Brewery. That they would pedal themselves to the location and then exit and maybe go in Mike's Inn. Well, the bike is electrically assisted, so the operator could move it or jockey it around, so to speak. So when they came back out and get on it, that's what the electric motor was for, is to help maneuver the vehicle when the riders are not on it. So then they would go back up, and they rented, I guess, for like 2, 4, 6 hours, whatever the contract would be. In my experience, I was in Grand Rapids. I saw one pull up. People ran into a bar, and the woman said, "Yeah, they just started, but they've been in there for quite a while." So the ride itself was relatively short, going to different establishments or taverns in this period, and then the ride ends, so to speak.
That was my concern, was just the amount of time and where they got to go when they stopped at one of our parks or Pier Marquette.
Yeah.
And but other than that, I mean, that sounds good to me.
And I don't see the attraction of Hackley Park to them unless they pulled up to go to parties at the park, for instance, where we had an alcoholic event at the park. Then the ride would pull up, stop in a safe location. He would step off, anchor their drinks that they brought, because they don't sell anything, and then they could proceed into the park to participate.
Okay. Questions here, Commissioner German?
Yeah. So, thank you, Mayor. So this is basically just like, let's say if they, like you mentioned, a party in the park, and the pedicab comes up, and one of the tenants decide they want to get in and view the city or whatever. Now, is this vehicle actually going to be designated to the streets, or are they allowed to go up on sidewalks? And exactly how many are we talking about being operated in the city as well?
I think the owner could tell you that, but they're going to operate on the streets, and the routes that we have so far are the slow. Like downtown is 25 miles an hour. It's going to have lights and those kind of safety devices on it, so that drivers could see this vehicle. You want to call it a vehicle? I call it a party bike because that's what it is. I think it's 10 occupants. How many? 12. There's 12 people, like 6 on each side, could ride it.
Okay. And does it have to comply with the speed limit? as
Yeah,
well?
well, I think it's going to because they pedal it, and and the motor is not capable of reaching speeds like 25 or 30 miles an hour, from my experience. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Anything else for Chief at this end?
Sure.
Mr. Johnson?
Just thank you, Chief, for working on this and working with the proponent for it. I think this is a nice, fun thing to do, particularly downtown. I'm envisioning for residents and tourists alike, being able to get around downtown from far east side of downtown, far west side, and enjoy many of our great establishments in between. So I think this could be a nice, fun amenity that's being added. And it's probably primarily why I see it within our major commercial business districts, not so much elsewhere. But we're going to work through it and refine it and expand or shrink or what have you. And I realize that the routes are going to be part of the application going to the city manager. The city manager will review those in concert with public safety and decide if there needs to be tweaks made. So I'm in favor of this and seeing how it goes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yeah, I don't have anything for Chief, but thank you, Chief. But for Ann and Ken and the applicant, I would like to suggest that the city commission rent the Petty Bike for its inaugural sailing. And we all do a team building skill together. And because Frank is not here, he cannot say no. So Ken, I need you to write a check now. Because we could all go on together and just debut it, right? So we're gonna crack a bottle of champagne and hit the road.
I already see a video on TikTok.
I support that.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations. It's gonna be awesome.
I'll need a battery operated Keurig because that's the strongest I know.
We are overdue for a team building exercise.
Yes.
Oh, one question. How is this going to intersect with our social district downtown? So, because it says in the ordinance you can't bring your drink more than 2 feet from the pedicab, but if you were to buy a drink, can you buy a drink from an established, like one of our social district drinks? Say you start out at Rake and you buy a drink at Rake. Can you bring that on the pedicab and then go on over to 18th Amendment? Now you're there. Can you get off it, finish your drink, throw it away before you go into 18th Amendment, get another drink, and carry on your way? Like, how does that intersect with interplay with our?
I think you could do that. What you can't do is buy the drink at one of the establishments in the social district, take it to the pedicab, and leave the district.
Okay. As long as you stay within it, then you're good.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Cool.
Right. And the social district is so new. I will be talking to Dave Alexander and giving him some direction on that because it's so new. There is some questions that I just can't answer right now because it is just so new. Because we have clubs down there and other things happening and now this. But I'll tell you, the MLCC has been really good at working with us and giving us information as these pop up because we're aware of these issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pacifica?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Gallren?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item B, request for proposal approval for the youth empowerment program. Yep. We have this read out, please.
Absolutely. Community Neighborhood Services is requesting permission to grant funds of $20,000 to Community Encompass for their YEP project, which provides youth with work and educational experiences. Detailed summary. This item was brought before the City Commission on June 8th, 2021. The Community Neighborhood Services Department allowed organizations to request funds from their Community Development Block Grant for variable eligible programs. Bethany Housing Ministries, DBA, Community Encompass applied for funds for their youth empowerment project, YEP, for work and educational experiences throughout the year. Commissioner Ramsey is employed by Community Encompass and did disclose a conflict of interest as required by HUD guidelines. The conflict statement was posted on the city's website and the city's Facebook page, and the conflict was stated in the minutes. However, HUD requires that the nature of the conflict also be disclosed on the agenda in the minutes and that there be discussion at the meeting regarding the conflict. Because the conflict of interest was not disclosed to the HUD specified guidelines, this item is being brought back before the City Commission for consideration. for our August 24th, 2021 meeting. The conflict of interest statement from Commissioner Michael Ramsey was posted on the city's website, and a link on the conflict statement was posted on the city's Facebook page on August 17th, 2021. Commissioner Ramsey is employed by Community Encompass and has disclosed a conflict of interest which arises because Michael Ramsey is either in a decision-making position or in a position to gain inside information, and the conflict must be disclosed when there is a financial benefit. Commissioner Ramsey will recuse himself from voting on this item due to the stated conflict. This item must receive 6 affirmative votes to pass.
Thank you. Commissioner Rinsma-Savinga.
I move to approve the agreements with Bethany Housing Ministries, DBA Community Encompass.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Rinsma-Savinga, seconded by the Vice Mayor to approve the agreements with Bethany Housing Ministries, DBA Community Encompass. Any additional observations, questions? Commissioner Jensen.
Thanks, Matt. This is purely a technicality. The fact that one piece of the guidelines was missing a couple months ago when we approved this, and it was approved unanimously before, and I stand by my vote from then, and I will vote accordingly now. But it's purely a technicality. Okay.
Very good. Great point to make. Commissioner German.
Yes. What is the age limit for youth to participate? And who could speak on that?
I believe that is Anita. Director Bailey.
Honestly, there's kids.
Well, we got the director coming up. We got the director.
So, Commissioner, the age limit, there are children in high school that are being used right now through the Department of Public Works. And so they can be school-age children and outside of school as the graduates, 18, 19. For the most part, we're dealing with the youth who are in high school.
Okay. Now, are these high school students in the city of Muskegon?
The Muskegon Public Schools.
Yeah, just Muskegon Public Schools. And how long has this program been going on through Bethany Housing Ministry? I think we've done something with them quite a few times. But how long because the program is good, you can see that, and they get the support. But just for the history, so the public will know.
Publicly, the YEP program has been a part of the Community Encompass programs for more than 6 years. Mm-hmm. So they have impacted young people's lives. Muskegon Public School kids who are in high school have been, through the summer, given opportunity to work and to experience a lot of different programming, whether it's building or whether it's day camps. But for this particular program that was requested publicly, they applied to receive some funding to assist them to do it this year, because of last year with the pandemic, they were not able to proceed as normal. Okay. So there was an interruption last year, and so then this particular proposal was submitted, and because of this conflict, that's why we had to wait. Here we are at the end of the summer. So.
And just one last question: who will they contact? Will the director go to the Muskegon Public Schools to?
No, it is directly with Community Encompass. Kimmy George is the interim director right now. So
okay, all right.
That's who the contact person is.
Thank you.
We successfully worked with the YEP program this summer when we were short on our own summer help, and we were able to coordinate with Community Encompass and the YEP program to maintain our green spaces in our parks and actually pay the youth a living wage. And we had a great celebration with them a few weeks back down at McLaughlin Park. Very good time, and got to celebrate all the participants. Anything additional for Director Bailey? Not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Gallren?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Pacifica.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Brings us to item C, removing the topic of rezoning for 1128 Robert Street from the tabling of the last meeting.
At the City Commission meeting held July 27, 2021, this item was tabled indefinitely. This item is back on the agenda for tonight and needs to be removed from the table for discussion of 1128 Robert Street rezoning.
Commissioner Muskegon.
I move to remove the item of rezoning at 1128 Robert Street from the table for further consideration.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Muskegon, seconded by Commissioner Emery to remove the item of rezoning of 1128 Robert Street from the table for further consideration. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Johnson?
Nope. Oh, hold on. Commissioner Ramsey?
Maybe I'm confused.
Are we just,
We're just restoring it to the table so that we can discuss
Close.
it under the next
Okay.
item.
No further discussion. Same.
All good?
That's an educational moment.
Commissioner Johnson?
yes.
Mayor Gowron?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacifica?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item D.
All right. Rezoning of 1128 Robert Street. Request to rezone the property at 1128 Robert Street from R1 Single Family Residential Low Density to MC Medical Care by Fresh Coast Alliance. The Planning Commission unanimously, 8-0, 1 absent, recommended approval of the rezoning and also unanimously approved the special use permit contingent upon the rezoning approval by the City Commission. The case was tabled at the July 27th City Commission meeting. The Commission requested to prepare a separate agreement that would limit intensive medical zoning uses at the location.
I would add one thing, if I might, Mr. Mayor. If the motion is to approve, that would be both the request to rezone the property and the conditional rezoning agreement.
Commissioner Muskegon.
I move to approve the request to rezone the property 1128 Robert Street from R1 Single Family Residential to residential low density to MC Medical Care, and also the conditional
Rezoning agreement.
rezoning agreement regarding this property.
Thank you, sir.
I second that.
Then moved by Commissioner Muskegon, seconded by Commissioner Emery to approve the request to rezone the property at 1128 Roberts Street from R1 Single Family Residential Low Density to MC Medical Care. What is that, contingent on the
And approval of the conditional.
and approval of the conditional rezoning agreement regarding this property. What staff wants to lead out on this and recap?
So our legal counsel worked with their legal counsel on the conditional zoning agreement. It outlines the uses that would be allowed, which they have already presented, and it disallows the rest of the types of uses that would be allowed in the medical care that you can see in section 1 of the agreement. And it also sets a timeline of 365 days for the property to be acquired by Fresh Coast Alliance, and the zoning would not be changed until they take ownership.
Okay. Questions for the director? Commissioner Ramsey?
I would actually like to speak to the representatives from Fresh Coast.
Okay. Let's see if we can get through Mr. Transit before you step down. we'll see if there's anything specific for staff before the principals come forward. Anything for Mr. Franzik? Okay, if the principals then. And gentlemen, just for a refresher, if we could just get your names and addresses for the record again.
Yeah. Nathan Johnson, 1314 Moulton Avenue.
Timothy Stoker, 200 Ottawa Avenue, Northwest, Grand Rapids.
Okay. Commissioner Ramsey.
Michael Ramsey, 1669 Peck Street, in Michigan. So, Mr. Johnson, thank you for being here tonight. We got to hear a lot from your would-be neighbors. And I just want to have a very frank and honest conversation with you about, A, do you hear the opportunities that they are mentioning to have and to build a relationship with them beyond what some of them were it's weird to not speak to you when I'm talking about you, but that's how this goes, I reckon. In some of the instances, there was some criminalization and some demonization, and there was uses of the word like they and those people, and I don't appreciate that, right? Right. Because we're all just people, and at some point, everyone has needed a little bit of help. But there is a real concern there. And in some instances, it sounds like that concern is a lack of understanding. And I would like to know what you guys are going to do to mitigate that. And is there an opportunity and I know that this is on the fly, so you don't have to give me anything that we're going to write down, lawyer man. Just that, where is the dialogue with the community and the neighborhood that directly surrounds it? Because all of these points are 100% valid. Now, at my house, where's the young man? I live across the street from the Women's Rescue Mission on one side, and across the street directly is a step-up home that houses male youth aging out of a foster care system that we all know has served them in a less than mediocre way. So for me, this is not an issue. But I do understand the concern because I also had to speak to my neighbors about how we as a community need to come together and help to bolster these people that are a part of these programs so that when they are done, they can turn around and do that for someone else. Now, that's my belief. I don't put that on anyone else. And it may be different in your smaller neighborhood. But there clearly is an opportunity for discussion and to create a space of understanding and conversations. And due to the nature of the business that you and I deal with every day, especially yours and this one, I feel like for you to have the support of your neighbors is monumental to the success of this program. Because if I, as someone who volunteers to be worked through a program that's going to bring me out on the other side as the changed man that I want to be, but the people that I encounter every single day that I'm at my home, because it would be these individuals' homes, these people's homes, snarl at me or look at me or grab their kids as I walk by or tuck their purse under their shoulder. That's doing nothing for me as a person. It also doesn't speak to the character of those individuals. So what are you going to do moving forward so that we can not have a final discussion here tonight and to engage your neighborhood about this facility that we know for those who are recovering by choice from substance use, so that we as a community can come together and support them?
Thanks for asking the question. And I would, my first response would be this. I think most of the neighbors know that we've already been in the neighborhood for 5.5 years. We have 6 homes, another one getting ready to open. Not one time has the police been called because of anything that we or anyone from our program has done. In fact, we've had our building vandalized. Someone broke into it, spray painted on the walls. It was some young kids from the neighborhood. Over COVID in July, I got it on videotape. Young kids came into the back of our building at our basketball court and tore the rim down. So it's now, so we're gonna have to replace that. One of our homes that people are in right now was broken into last year in the fall time. While people were sleeping, a man walked into the house, crept through the window. We have him on videotape. A lot of this stuff has been from people who stay in the neighborhood. This isn't our folk. This stuff hasn't happened from us. So a lot of this stuff is people, it's misconceptions, frank ignorance on what people who've been to jail are like and people who have been involved with drug addiction have like. There are a group of people in the neighborhood who love what we do. There's another group in the neighborhood who've actually come to our building for services that we actually help on a weekly basis. Now, they didn't come. I understand that. We didn't ask them to come. But they come for services. We want to be a benefit and blessing to the neighborhood. I'm a recipient of these kinds of services. Spent 12 and a half years in prison. Been involved with all of the criminal justice systems. I've had a change of heart because of a loving community. Accepted me back in the city of Muskegon. Some of the leaders here who I've met with since I've been home 8 years have accepted me back in. And it's given me an opportunity without being judged to be able to do what we're doing here and to help clean up what I played a role in. And I take full responsibility for what I played a role in helping to mess up. I take full responsibility for that. And I feel a need to have to come back and help people who are in that same boat. With those homes right now, we monitor them with video surveillance. We run a tight ship. We don't allow nonsense. We don't have individuals coming in and leaving every 2 weeks. There have been a few people who have done that, but it's not the consistent norm. We monitor. We have a screening process for people who get in. We don't allow the judges to sentence someone to 6 months to our program. I won't allow that because I know individuals, if they're incarcerated, like I once was, will take any route to get out of jail. Completely get that. Now, if an individual voluntarily comes to the program and requests permission to get involved with what we're doing, then we'll let them come in. And we have a vetting process for them. So it's not just like every criminal drug addict is coming and we're housing them and this thing is going to be haywire. It's not going to be like that. And they're going to come in voluntarily and we're going to work with them. We're going to love them right where they're at and we're going to work with them to wholeness. There's been a number of people who have come through our program that work for these community organizations here. As started out, I can remember the day that I met them coming home from prison or coming off of heroin, requesting help. They spent a couple years with us, and now they're in a place where they're respected members in community and actually a benefit and blessing to the people that live right here in the city of Muskegon, working within the recovery world. Again, we can't say guarantees, but I know from our lived experience that this is what I know for me, this is what I'm graced to do. And I know that it will be the safest. It will be done with excellence. It won't look like a trap house. It won't look like some trashed place. All of our properties are well taken care of. And this isn't something where it's going to look shabby. It's going to devalue the neighborhood. It's actually going to be a benefit and blessing to the neighborhood. And what we've done thus far, we've sent a letter out to all the neighbors within, I think it was 300 feet to all the neighbors in either direction, asking them to come meet with us and ask questions and get to know us and see how we can be of benefit to them and vice versa. But this is a perfect opportunity for a neighborhood to come alongside of those who are broken and who are in our city and need our help to come alongside of and being to love them, to care for them, and walk alongside them, encourage them as they're getting back on their feet. As if, see, the table would be turned if it was their daughter, if it was their son. Then all of a sudden they would be, oh yeah, we love this, do this, right? Again, no one's going to admit it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
but the truth of the matter is, as long as it's not close to them, then it's not an issue. And I would have no problem with it. And that's the real issue. So we want to help. We want to be a benefit and blessing to the city, to the community, and play our role in helping out with this population who doesn't have a voice and is really neglected. And we want to be here to help out with that. If that answered your question, Michael. Thank you, sir.
Vice Mayor?
Hi, if I may.
Oh, yes, Council.
We inserted in the agreement binding requirement that they establish an advisory board with the neighborhood. Paragraph 2 provides for that. We raised that at the last meeting. And so we put that in here as part of the contractual agreement with the city of Muskegon in the conditional rezoning in addition to all the other medical uses. It is a criteria, a requirement in the agreement that Fresh Coast form an advisory board with the representatives of the Sheldon Park Neighborhood Association for the purpose of obtaining and maintaining a forum to provide for open dialogue between FCA and the Sheldon Park neighborhood with regard to the FCA specifically. So it's a mandate within the agreement. So we we suggested that, and we thought in addition to addressing the other concerns about what people did not want there from a medical zoning standpoint, we inserted that requirement. So it is a contractual obligation of FCA under the conditional rezoning with the city of Muskegon to fulfill that obligation.
Okay. First off, I just like to address the terms that were used earlier. I don't want them living in my backyard or their kind. It wasn't too long ago that was used for people that looks like me. We don't want them living behind us or in our backyard. So I think that was just a bad choice of words. But I would like to say, personally, I like what Mr. Johnson has been doing, what they've been doing over there in that neighborhood. But I can't vote off of what I feel personally. I live I live on Creston, which someone just said that. So it's not in my backyard. It's in my neighborhood, but it's not in my backyard. And we've been, or at least I know I have, and Commissioner German, we've been trying to get comment and advice and people to come out on the east end of town to share how they feel about a topic. And you came out today. So I have to listen to what you say and how you feel. And I can't vote for this until the neighborhood feels comfortable with it. And I think the advisory board is a great idea. And I just hope that we can come to some type of, or the neighborhood can get some type of sense of acceptance. But until then, I just can't I can't vote on that. Vote yes on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on this end? Commissioner German?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to commend Nate, what you're doing in the community. We met years ago, and your passion for what you're doing to try to change people's lives. We need programs to help people because they're in a situation where sometimes they can't pull themselves up. Myself, I'm volunteered on committees such as the Foster Care Review Board. Yeah, I said if ever I could get in a situation to help someone or a child find a permanent home and not be misused, I would do that. And it's just the passion and the heart that you have to change people's lives. Also, anyone that's been abused and neglected, so I understand what you're doing and your passion and the direction that you're taking. As elected official, I swore an oath to serve the city of Muskegon and being an upright citizen, to listen to my constituents, the city, and whether I live in that precinct or not. Now tonight, and I'm always delighted to have our residents come out and engage and speak their voice and how they feel, because I really take that wholeheartedly. And anyone that knows me, that's something that I really value. And what I've heard tonight is a need for this program. True enough, I totally agree. And I heard the residents in that area speak of their concerns that they have when it comes to the safety of that neighborhood and the community and the children. And if someone does something to a kid, it's nothing that you can do if I'm standing there to hold me back, because I'm gonna help protect that kid, even if it's not mine. The drugs, and we know it's not just designated in those areas. Drugs are all over. We know that, and crime. Um, I think if it was at a time where it was designated at a central location, I could probably get more logic out of it and see, hey, it's in this area, but it won't affect the community over here or the residents over here. There's so many feet from a school district, and I know that there's a school district right over in that area as well. So, I want to just thank you for what you've done. And like our vice mayor stated too, he knows, crime better than I do because he was a police officer. You see a lot of the activities and things that go on in these neighborhoods. And from people that just trying to change their life, sometimes they just struggle. So I don't want to be responsible for being in favor of something that could actually cause a life-changing situation to a parent or a resident in that neighborhood due to this program. And at the same time, but I commend you on your work and I wish you the best of luck. Go ahead.
We're already in the neighborhood.
Yes, right.
Like there's 24 individuals that are already there. This here is not going to change the outcome. And there's no evidence saying that what we're going to do is going to hurt any kids. Where did that come from?
Please.
I guess that's the part where saying that there's a school there's kids in the neighborhood, and because we're already there. None of our folk have done anything to any kids. And with all due respect, those are assumptions that we're saying, oh, if we put a recovery program here, that kids are going to be affected. I mean, that's not evident. Those are assumptions. And I could say if we're dealing with facts, then I would say, respectfully submitted, I totally agree with you. But off of assumptions about children will be hurt, that's a strong statement saying that because an individual battles with drug addiction that they're going to hurt. Why would they hurt kids?
Okay, and just if I may, okay.
And most pedophiles, when they go to prison for messing with kids, they don't have a criminal record. These are done by family members. These are done by aunts and uncles and close friends. They're not done by strangers. Now I can state statistics for you. Okay, we're not talking about drug, like they're going out to, if they're going to do drugs, they're going to go to the Heights or to another neighborhood and buy the drugs. Where I used to sell dope in the Heights in downtown. They're going to go to the neighborhoods where they sell dope. They know where the trap is. They're not going to the Sheldon Park neighborhood. But there's no facts there. Those are just assumption.
Right. Okay, let's say,
so
for instance.
if it's facts, then I can go with it. But saying that we're going to hurt little kids, I mean, that's...
Right. And everyone don't have the facts. I hear what you're saying. Everyone doesn't have the facts, and parents that's out there that have a concern for their kids in their neighborhood, they only know what they see, and I would say that it could happen. Okay, the possibility of that this happening, that it could happen, but I understand what you're saying, and I'm taking I heed to both sides, but I can't see voting on this right now to say, hey, okay, even though you're in the community, and I commend you on the work that you've done because the work is definitely needed, but to be on a safe ground, I'm going to listen to what the neighborhood is saying right now. And if for some reason, if there was some type of clause, in that agreement saying, hey, a probationary period where this program or the tenants got out of line or if they did A, B, and C for the first 6 months, statistically, no problems in the community, engage the residents feel comfortable with it on a probationary period, that would be something, that I possibly may consider. But it has to be a safety net, for the community. These are taxpayers, they built their life in this community to enjoy the finer things in life and the quality of life. So that's where I'm at on this. Yeah.
If I may add, Mr. Commissioner,
Counsel.
Mayor. So that probationary period has existed. The treatment facility has been in that school building, former school building, for 5.5 years. And no one has to date objected to anything that they've done. There's been no reported of crime, okay? And in addition to that, the Public Safety Department has not reported any crime, and the Public Safety Department has not objected to this use being there. So that what is now changing is the church that's within that building is going to be moving into the former Lutheran church building, vacating that current site, and FCA will be taking over the entire site, that entire school building, former school building, as their ongoing treatment facility. So the probationary period has been there for 5.5 years, and the reason why no one has come forward and objected is because there hasn't been an issue. And it became an issue when a public notice went out and announced that in addition to this, there would be 2 homes being built there for residents to live in. That's the only change that's occurring, that people will be living in those 2 homes and living in a neighborhood. The treatment facility has been ongoing and has been there. So that probationary period has existed, and they have passed with flying colors. But no objection from the neighborhood. In fact, Mr. Adams spoke that his mother purchased her home 2 years ago, and I think I heard him correctly say it's gone up substantially in value in the last 2 years, with the treatment facility being right across the street from that. So there's not been any deterrence of buying and selling of homes, the purpose of single-family residential real estate, and nor has there been any negative impact to real estate property values or the desirability to live in that community by Fresh Coast being present. That's the objective data that's there. That's not speculation. That is the objective data.
Okay.
Thank
One
you.
last question. If I can ask Mr. Nate, what demographics or ethnicity are the majority of your tenants?
The majority would be white. We're mixed. It's Hispanic, black, and white.
So it's very diverse.
Yeah, it's diverse. Drugs affect everyone.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
majority of our folk, it's heroin, meth, and crack and alcohol that individuals are coming off of. And it happens everywhere. The biggest federal drug bust in Muskegon County happened on the corner of Isabel and Green, 3 houses on. So this stuff is already going on in the neighborhood. It's just people don't know about it. It's there already. It's just now that it's come to the surface and people are hearing about it, and all of a sudden it's a big issue. It's already going on in this neighborhood. This is not like there's no drugs happening. This is already happening there, and we've been here 5.5 years. No issues. No one's ever come complain that we're here.
Yeah.
No one. Not one person has come. A neighbor has never come and said, "We don't like that you're here." The only reason it's an issue is because they got a letter of us saying, "Hey, we're here." Now all of a sudden, all these myths and the things that we don't know. Oh, these scary people are coming in here. There's nothing scary about it. Those are just the facts. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Just one follow up, and then I'm finished, Mayor.
Okay, because
Okay.
you've had.
Yeah, I know. And and thanks for clarifying that, because I'm hearing residents saying I don't want them or those people. So I'm trying to get a broader insight of who we talking about. And as you said, drugs does affect anybody that don't discriminate anything. So thank you. Thanks, man.
I just this is real short.
Yeah,
just a
real-
question.
and then-
what's
Thank you.
what's in every neighborhood?
That drugs.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so thank you again, Nate, for this conversation and council. So something else that I was able to pull out of the conversations that were presented to, the narratives that were presented to us by our wonderful neighbors, was that if we could work towards something and we could take out the misuse of words, as the vice mayor so kindly called it. I was not that kind. The size of the facilities themselves. So, as you just so eloquently spoke to, you've been there for 5 years. There has been a probation period. It ain't new.
Right.
So that's great. Is there on the end of your organization an opportunity to sit down and create a space of understanding that is safe to talk about if truly the size is the issue? Is there a way to compromise on that size for now so that we can look at what it looks like in the future? Because, so very recently, and some of you may recall this, we had an issue with parking at the beach and moving some diagonal versus vertical. Anyway, and so what we heard from the residents was that if you do this, it's not safe. So we addressed that first. We said, okay, then we're not going to do this line of parking because it creates a backup on the street and it's not safe for pulling out of driveways. Well, then once we had decided to fix that, they focused on something else that wasn't safe and brought that along and made that an issue. And so we don't want to see that happen in this situation, but is there an opportunity for FCA and the neighborhood to sit down and discuss some of these things? Or are you completely closed off to that? I'm just trying to help move it along without it stopping, because I know that these services are important.
Yeah, we're open we would love for the neighborhood to come meet the people that they're scared of or that they think are going to be a detriment to their neighborhood. We've invited them to come and meet with us. And I'll have the participants who are doing excellent. You can meet the people and see it's a mixed crowd of individuals that we're all moving towards
Well,
time to get.
I'm not asking you to exploit anyone or their situation, but because, dog and pony shows. But if it is the size of the structure itself,
Size of the buildings. The 15, okay. Yep.
Is there an opportunity to have conversation around that? And is it something that you guys can sit down about? Because that seems to be necessary for this to progress.
I guess it could. It'd be a funding. I mean, we got so much funding that we can do and doing multiple homes as opposed to one building. I mean, I can't give an answer right now.
I know, which is why I said it's okay.
Right. So
Nothing gets written
that's
down.
funding. We have.
I'm just sharing with you what I heard my neighbors saying
for sure.
about this situation, and if there is an opportunity to create a space of understanding and engage in conversation about what the concern is of the size. I mean, hey, that's no skin off of anybody's teeth. Right. Let's have a conversation, not with me, and not us, but us.
Yeah.
Separate with me. I'm done.
Commissioner Emery?
I've talked the last time when you were before us. Those people that you serve, the faces of the people that you serve are my dad, my brother, my sister, my nephews, my nieces. Those are the kind of them that they serve. So I applaud you for what you're doing. But I think that the neighbors here need to be, and I don't say this badly about you, educated to the treatment. So if I were to enter into your program, what would a day of treatment be for me? I'm a meth addict. So because there was some mention about what would the drugs be administered by your facility?
No, we're not administering anything.
Right. So
Yeah,
that's where the education comes in.
So we've set forth in the agreement that from day one, and we list those treatment methods, which are rehabilitation facility and center, inclusive of counseling therapy, mental health counseling therapy, indoor and outdoor recreational facilities, behavioral therapy, administrative offices, counseling services, life skills services, work training services, community and family reclamation services, collectively treatment facilities. And then in addition to that would be the specialized lodging facilities for persons undergoing those treatment services. So we've listed all of those and defined them as the FCA use in the agreement. That's what we've said we would be doing, and that's what we're saying we'd be doing, both to you and the public and in writing.
Okay, I worked 10 years in a residential treatment center for troubled adolescents, child and family services here in Muskegon, on Terrace and Irwin. So what would the expectation, I'm a resident of your facility. What is literally from morning to evening, your expectation of my behavior in order for me to continue to stay in your facility?
The expectations would be when everyone gets there, everyone currently. So what we're proposing to do will be a different format than what we're doing. Do you want me to discuss?
Yeah, I want to say it's a year from now. Your facility is
This is
alive
here
and
and
well
we're
and
doing this.
open, and I'm a resident there, and I get up in the morning. What is the expectation? Like, for instance, our children got up. They had to be out of bed by 7 a.m. Shower. Some of them took morning showers, and then they had breakfast. Then they went to school.
So, okay. So we haven't developed the program yet, but I can kind of, there's thoughts.
I know you're brainstorming that, though.
So the state has certain requirements that we have to do, that they have to meet so many hours with the therapist. They have to be a part of so many groups, CBT, and recovery groups. And then that's a portion of it. Then what we would be doing is like recreational activities, leaving the facility and going to the state parks and doing recreational things, building community to where you're around a bunch of people, but you're not just sitting in group talking about all your stuff all the time. There's a place for that. But then exercise would be another one. Having a good, healthy eating habits. So with the food that we'll be serving out of the kitchen there, all those things to make sure that the nutrients are getting back into an individual's body, because when you're on drugs, you're not taking care of your body in that way. Exercise, you'll be a part of recreational, educational things, sitting in groups, meeting one-on-one with peer support folks. And I mean, there would be, I can envision movie nights, and we're wanting to turn the main auditorium back into a gym. So there would be, gym at nighttime and having volleyball tournaments and basketball tournaments just with the folks inside the program, and having 90 days to 6 months where they're with us and being able to kind of recalibrate, so to speak. And then when they are ready to transition, they would go into our safe and sober living program, which then they'll get a schedule of when they have to be up at the building, when they have to meet with their therapist. We own and operate our own therapy practice. It's on the corner of Roberts and Apple. And so they would meet with their therapist continuously, meeting with the recovery coach, and then obviously whatever their recovery coach sets out within our program structure, they would have to apply for that. We have a zero tolerance. They don't pick it. If they come, they voluntarily come. So they don't pick and choose which classes they will come to. They don't pick and choose what they will and will not do. I don't tolerate that one bit. They're coming in. You've come to us because you're telling me that you don't know how to manage your own life. So you're going to come to us, and we're going to help you with that, and we're going to provide the necessary structure so that you can recalibrate and recover, be restored. So, but yeah, zero tolerance with they don't pick and choose.
Will there be random drug tests that they have to
random
agree to?
drug tests that happen weekly? The housing managers administer them, the recovery coaches, and then myself, I call a drug test on all the houses all at one time. So then they can't watch one person's pattern on how, it's going to happen at this time. So I've structured it in a way to where they'll never be able to figure out when and where we're going to do it, but it'll happen simultaneously throughout the week. And we have a pretty good success rate with that. And they know it's a zero tolerance where you'll have to leave if you violate any of the housing rules.
Have you thought of doing like community service for your residents, like going to seniors and mowing their lawns for them?
Yes, we wouldn't be opposed to that. So every Wednesday from 9 to 12, we have what's called Serving Together. So we go out and we serve in the community at different places when we're asked to. We've gone and done, helped single women move their homes, move furniture from one place to another. We've done cleanup. But a lot of times and I don't think, we don't get a lot of requests only because, the stigma, you got individuals, we don't want them in our, which I get on some regard in that because they, that's a choice that they get to make. And, but are we open to it? Absolutely. We're big on volunteering because that's part of the recovery process. where you need to help clean up what you help mess up. And volunteering creates that servant leadership internally that we want invested inside of our folks, so that because you're coming out of a lifestyle where it's all about me, selfish, and being able to get our mind off of us and onto other people helps with that restoration and healing process.
My brother is 37 years sober. He makes now, and it has taken him many years of living and working a program and having that kind of support to be who and what he is today. He now makes over 6 figures a year. He is much in demand for his job. So if it wasn't for a program like this, he wouldn't be who and what he is today. In fact, he would probably be in jail, in prison, or dead. So thank you.
And if they leave, they'll leave the house and they won't be in the neighborhood. They'll go back to
Oh,
where
yeah,
they came
right.
from. You know, so.
Anything else on this end?
Just one more thing. Oh, go ahead.
No,
How does your current program, because you mentioned you have several houses in the area, you're adding a 6th or a 7th, how does that currently function? And those are going to continue to function with this addition. Can you just...
Yeah, so let's just say an individual comes, they set up an appointment to meet with the recovery coach to do intake. They'll come to Fresh Coast, the building at 1128 Roberts. They'll sit down with a recovery coach, and usually about 30 to 45 minutes, and kind of find out where they're coming from. Like, what is their choice of drug? What kind of things have they been through? What is their expectations coming into the program? Asking a lot of the questions that gives us a good read on where they're at so that we can set up a plan. So they come in, we assess it, and we have 6 programs that go on all throughout the week. So the recovery coach, who all of them are have lived experience, so they know how to work with individuals coming out of what they're coming out of, and they may look at an individual and say, you know what, Mr. Johnson, I think you need 3 groups a week. You'll go to this one, this one, this one. You'll meet with me weekly, and then if it's necessary, they'll go up to the therapy practice on the corner of Roberts and Apple. They'll get signed up, fill out the necessary paperwork, and then they would be assigned a therapist, and they would be expected to come, to all of their appointments. Which again, they come voluntarily. So this is something that they're asking for. And then we have a really good success rate with individuals coming and staying committed to it. Not that everyone comes. I don't want to paint the picture that everyone who comes, they stay committed. But if they don't want what we have to offer, they leave and don't come around. They're not going to hang around the building because, we said them no. But they go back to wherever they're from.
And that programming that they get signed up to, that's currently be done out of the facility there already?
All of it's done right there in that building and in that neighborhood.
Okay.
So everything that we're doing now is what we're talking about doing here. It's just adding on to it. It's the same thing will be happening that's going on now. The same thing will be happening when this is built. Nothing's going to change.
It's about building more housing to
Yes, that's
serve
it.
the people.
Yeah, and it's still the same
that
thing's going to
use
go on what
those.
we're doing now, which isn't scary to anyone. No, none of our people have done anything. That's all we're requesting. Nothing's going to change.
So you mentioned cafeteria or eating meals together. You're going to be using the school cafeteria, former school cafeteria, and that's where they'll be sharing meals.
Well, there'll be full service kitchens inside each of the units. Plus, we'll have the kitchen in the main facility there. So I guess we haven't got down to the nitty. Are we going to do all dinner over here? Is it our
Be flexible.
So, yeah,
But
it'll be
you have
flexible.
the ability to bring them all together, and I mean,
Absolutely,
It's always
yeah.
good
So
to have
having-
that kind of the family element, feeling we're in this together, and build that camaraderie.
Absolutely, we're big on community,
mutual reinforcement.
Yes, and building that tribe and wanting to be a family, a tribe of people, because it's the main thing why individuals go to prison and get caught up in addiction. We could say, there's been a plethora of things from experience. I know this is that it's the sense of belonging isn't being met in the home.
Mm-hmm.
So when individuals say, "Oh, why these kids keep running out to the streets to sell drugs and join gangs?" Well, they're not running to something necessarily. They're running from something that's not being met at home. And because the sense of belonging is not being met at home, they run out into the streets. Knowing it firsthand, why we have such a good success rate is I know when they get here, The first thing I have to accomplish is that sense of belonging. They have to feel like they found their family, they found their tribe, they found their community, and that's why they recover so well, and that's why they recover quickly. And I understand, with having lived experienced people as our recovery and reentry coaches, because I understand this. Change takes place at the speed of trust. And if I can set individuals before them who've been there and won the war over addiction, won the war over staying out, and I can set them in front of you to share their story, hope rises up on the inside of you. And we get a community of people to rally behind you, and that sense of belonging is being met. Something happens here where all of a sudden the desire for change is a lot greater than the desire for remaining the same. A lot of it is taken care just in the context of community. Do we want to be known as a group of people that actually love people who don't have a voice? Or do we want to say, oh, well, because of things that aren't factual and they're not statistic, do we want to brush something off to the side because of things that aren't based on facts? I could understand if everything here was based on facts, then I would say it's a good cause. But when it's based off assumptions and things that we've seen on the movies, then that's not fair. It's not fair to the people who don't have a voice. And as leaders, we're to speak up for those who don't have any influence. We're out.
Yeah.
I'll stop right there.
So, in some regards, what you're building here would be more secure than the isolated houses, or do you have those monitored and staffed 24/7 as well?
I have a staff member who lives there with them, housing managers, and in these places.
Okay. So it's comparable then. You're going to have
yes.
24/7 staffing,
yes,
security at the new facilities. You have them at the houses.
Absolutely.
You spoke so eloquently about the importance of having that community and that tribe to help the recovery and the continued recovery and sustainable, enduring recovery. And these folks aren't actively going through detox. They've already on the other side of that.
Yes, yes.
It's about continuing that progress of recovery.
Yes.
And remember, guys, I think it's fitting that happening on the property of our Redeemer. Where I happen to have gone to preschool. I grew up in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
I grew up a block away from this site. I know some of these the people here in opposition my entire life. I've delivered newspapers to them, played with their kids. This is a neighborhood I know very, very well. The aspect of that community, what you were saying, that reinforcement, that's so important. And my colleague, Commissioner Ramsey, spoke to this as well about the importance of having the neighborhood embrace this program. And I realize there's houses that are already there already. This is taking it to another level, much more prominent, much more visible. And folks are going to know, if you're living at that house or you're living in this facility, where you're coming from. And we don't want to add that. I'm sure you don't want to add that in. You want the neighbors and the neighborhood to embrace this and be on board. It's a very worthwhile program what you're doing. It is a successful program. It is a program that so many in our community need, and those people they're no different than us. They have different choices, and they've had consequences for those choices. But they're people just like us. They have dignity just like us. We should respect them and help them be better people. So that's one of the dynamics at play there. But I do appreciate, because we a month ago when we were here, just before that, I had commissioner office hours at Emmett Park. Nobody on this issue came to speak to that, and I tried to go around different cities, and I chose Emmett Park in Jackson Hill because it was on the east side. Didn't do Shelton Park because of potential inclement weather. There's no pavilion there, so I chose Emmett Park. After that, I did hear from a resident, and I stopped by her home, and there were other residents there that had concerns about this, and connected them with Mr. Whalen. Grateful for you sitting down with them and addressing their questions and their concerns and trying to find a way forward. That advisory board came up. We incorporated this. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've heard questions since then. How do we get on that advisory board? We haven't heard anything. How do we get involved with that? And then these conditional rezoning, appreciate that. We've tightened that up. So it's not open-ended medical care there. It is very narrow focus on an activity that already exists in the neighborhood. Essentially, we're just adding housing. Now it gets to the question of scope and size as been addressed. What is suitable there that complements the neighborhood? And perhaps there is some opening there. I think particularly the one piece that kind of gave me pause before was building that facility just to the east of the building on Catherine. That seemed out of place for that immediate residential area there. So I don't know if that's where you could do single family duplexes or like try to bring the scale more in line with the surrounding neighborhood there. You mentioned a letter having gone out within 300 feet. That was in addition to the zoning
That was since our
notification?
last time that we met.
Since the last meeting, that went out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
And yeah, thank you for taking. Did that also share that the an advisory board was being
Yeah, and
created?
a number of them have called and asked to be on it, and we had a number of neighbors call and thank us for doing what we're doing, and they're looking forward to. I wish they would have come too, so that we could understand. It's not everyone in the neighborhood is mad that this is going to happen. There are some people that called and thanked us for it.
Mm-hmm.
They thanked us for our service in the neighborhood and that they were looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So I don't want the people who came tonight being the representatives of Sheldon Park, because it's just not the case. There's some that
I've
do
heard from neighbors
appreciate
on the other
it. Okay,
side
yeah.
that are in favor and recognize the importance of it and want it there, knowing the good that you do. You have a meeting tomorrow with them.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you're meeting with them tomorrow.
Okay, it goes 300 feet in either direction of the building. So the addresses that we got from the city, those are the ones that they would have went out to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing. That's the proof that they're not bad people moving into the neighborhood.
Hold on.
We've been there.
The business is being transacted.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Mayor. Sorry.
Yeah. In terms of and I get why some neighbors, not all, but some neighbors, and they came here tonight, and it's important that we recognize them and we respect their feedback, and that they took that initiative to come here. It is and speak, not just come here, but speak. Public speaking is a frightening thing for many people, and in part what I sense and hearing is people's just the fear of what could be and the unknown to some extent,
yes,
and being motivated by fear. And fear is a hell of a feeling, particularly during these times of a global pandemic, an unsettling national political environment as well. So fear abounds, and we should be sensitive to that. But I appreciate, working on the advisory board, reaching out to the folks within 300 feet. Maybe that should be extended or working in concert with SPNIA as to how to get the word out, how to facilitate that dialogue, and find a happier way forward. And as to the assumption that none of us would want this in our backyard, I have family that still lives over there, and that got put to me today. It was like, well, you wouldn't want this in your backyard. Well, honestly, if this one, I live just over a block away from NIMS Elementary, the former NIMS Elementary. If this were built, they got a bunch of vacant property in the back. If this were built there, I'd be perfectly fine with it. I'd probably reach out, see how I can help out. And I would help be that bridge between the NIMS Neighborhood Association. I serve on that as the vice president. But it is a challenging.
It's a challenge, and it's not really the structure. It's the false assumptions about the people who will be staying there. It's not about this. No one's not opposed to the structures.
Are you open to? I mean, you're meeting with folks tomorrow.
you can't answer Commissioner Ramsey's question off the top of your, here, put you on the spot of like, how can you fine tune the scale or the scope of it? But I'm intrigued by that pursuit or possibility. Understanding that affects, not only your funding, but income side and moving pieces there. Yeah, it goes on to the scope and scale. So I'm pretty much there.
And Mr. Johnson, you got to realize this: any neighborhood we go to, you know what they're going to tell us?
Yeah, same thing.
In every neighborhood we go to, they will kick us out. But in order to recover, you have to do it in the context of community. That's where change takes place. We all understand that. Change takes place in the context of community. And being able to do it in a residential neighborhood, we're not in an institutional setting, is the best way for people to come. These are all over and across America. All the ones that I'm a part of and know about, they're all in neighborhoods. And every single one of them, from sex trafficking, my wife leads up the Hope Project and sex trafficking, same thing when we've gone into neighborhoods. No one wants us. So what are we, and they're saying it. It's not about the structure, it's about the people. So if everyone continues to reject, but then we want to talk about why drugs run rampant in Muskegon County. Why does crime happen if everyone's going to reject us on every little thing because the things that we did and we're identified, those things that we did, people say that's who we are as opposed to something that we did, as if people can't change. We've all needed grace in our lives. So are we going to continue to push all of us out the back door and say, you guys go, you might as well continue with the same terminology. Those people need to go someplace else and find it. Put them out in the middle of nowhere so they can recover because we don't want them in our neighborhood. When are we going to stop with that and say, you know what? We have influence so we can speak up for those who don't have influence. If we go to every neighborhood, we're going to be confronted with the same thing. We're a nonprofit. We don't have millions of dollars. We just happen to get graced with this building. We didn't.
Yeah, you have roots.
What do we do?
You have roots in that neighborhood already. You've been there for a number of years.
Yes.
You've had successful programming. A lot of the neighborhood, and that's to your credit of the program, were unaware that your program existed. But they're now aware, and you're taking it to a higher scale. So let's, and you're endeavoring at that with the advisory board, which I appreciate. Yeah. But they haven't had an opportunity to engage you on that. And so working to more proactively and communicating and bringing them along to have better understanding of what you're doing. And if there are folks that are part of your program willing to meet with them, maybe they're on the advisory board too. You're going to have people from the neighborhood and them or whatnot. Yeah. Like build those relationships and build that understanding. And I'm hearing that from several other commissioners as well. And you have that meeting tomorrow, so I know we've already tabled this.
But then
we could give more time.
And then what if we have the meeting, but none of the neighbors show up? And then we come back and we're like,
what time is it? What time is it?
Tomorrow night at 5:30. Okay.
5:30 at our Redeemer. Well, what's it called?
Ladies and gentlemen, the audience right now.
I would like to be there if I may.
Principals have the
yes. I would love to have you.
One question, and I will yield the floor. Just because a curiosity, someone brought up today. Are people required to? Do you have a religious dictates to participate in this program?
We have a track where those who want their faith involved, because it's important to a lot of people. Yeah. We do provide that. Those who don't, we have non-faith based track that people can take.
It's not a requirement, not proselytizing.
No, we want people to succeed. And I don't want people going back to prison at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
many ways towards redemption, but thank you.
Commissioner Renzema Savinga, you haven't weighed in yet, and then Commissioner German.
Sure. I have a lot of thoughts about the whole thing. My concern about tabling it is that we've tabled it once and we worked on something. I just, at some point we can't table it anymore. They're negotiating, it's really a negotiation, and they're doing that in good faith. And you can't move the goalposts. So I don't really know what we can do to, help that situation, but I'd say please don't table it just so you can vote it down next time. Or, you know, when we asked to fix the medical care thing, and that's what they did. There could always, now we're talking about the size. I understand it, but that wasn't addressed in this time. So it's difficult to keep putting issues off. So I just would ask, if we're gonna do that, we need to have the conclusive whatever list we have, because otherwise we're always going to add to the list, and at some point we need to, this group is putting their effort into it, and they have an attorney involved. I mean, I don't think it's fair to do that. So,
Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick questions for you, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts. You said you've already been there in the community. You're there, and how long have you been there?
Been in the neighborhood 5.5 years.
5.5 years.
January 1, 2016.
Okay, and there has not been any complaints, and the complaints surfaced when the letters went out. You saying?
When the letters went out recently?
Right. Is that what you?
I had people calling saying that they had the letter and that they.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess for concerns of opposing.
No one's called and opposed. The only ones who called saying that they wanted to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I share some of the same sentiment as the other commissioners, and my thought is, okay, first of all, getting buy-in from the community. I know you have a meeting coming up. I think that is so important to sit down and as one of the commissioners said, Semiga, you don't think it's a good idea to table it, but this is about getting buy-in and understanding. People's voices need to be heard and addressed, because there's a lot of unknowns. And I really think if that can be done, and would be tabled probably for another few weeks, maybe, it could be at a medium point where the community may accept this. Or, I mean, and I understand, drugs and everybody has somebody in their family down the line that done drugs. Okay. Everybody done slide, stole, so ain't nobody got no room to talk about anybody. We all, under God's eye, are sinners. Okay. So look at somebody that's on drugs and say, oh, okay, I don't want them in my neighborhood, or them people, that's a disgrace to humanity. So we really need to look at how we can collectively work together, or see how this would be a benefit, because see, your vision is not the vision that they see, at the end goal. Because you're helping somebody. You've been there. You walked in them shoes. But if a little bit more empathy was addressed, then they looked at it, try to walk in that person's shoes, then maybe we could get some buy-in from the citizens in the community. And if things may be structurally done in a way that, hey, they feel safe. The stereotypes about, kids and we talked about statistics, and we talked about facts and myths. So if it's all right, I move to table this, make a motion to table this again, to get further dialogue. And if I can get some support, I mean, because I think it's, worthy. And if the citizens and in that area says no, then hey, they've spoken. But if you can come to some type of agreement, and maybe they see the logic about the services that you do, and the benefits to someone's life changing, I mean, I think it'll be a win-win for everybody. So I moved to table this. Is there a second?
Is there a particular date?
Okay, let's see. September, 2 weeks is the 7th. I say that the 21st of September.
Beat the 28th.
Or to be the 28th? Okay, I'm sorry.
14th?
Okay. The 28th of September. I moved to the table.
Is it possible to come back within 2 weeks?
I would say the 28th. I think that gives ample time for everyone to address their concerns and issues, and then whatever situation someone may have, they can't make a meeting, but the onus would be on you, Mr. Nate, to make sure that you engage the community. And
So the tabling is to provide for community dialogue and begin fleshing out the
misunderstandings or
right,
misconceptions.
and the advisory board.
Yes.
You have meetings on September 14th and September 28th.
And I would motion that be on September the 28th.
September 28th.
Table to that date.
Able to that date.
Did does it have to be stretched out that long, that far?
I think it's necessary. I mean, we can rush and say, hey, in 2 weeks, but
It could come back, beforehand, if
yeah,
their
It gives them at least
their
that
their
much time.
communications have been made, and there's been enough community input and the like. I would suspect.
So the 14th would be 3 weeks, but you're saying, Mr. Mayor, that if it were put on the 28th and then somebody at the 14th wanted to make the motion to take it from the table, they could at that time instead of waiting till the 28th? Am I understanding correctly?
I'm looking to Miss Mish.
Sorry.
Oh, the question was if the motion is to table it to the 28th,
Yes.
and it sounded like what I was understanding from the mayor is that there'd be an opportunity on the 14th if there was a comfort level that someone could make the motion to pull it from the table and vote on the matter that night on the 14th rather than wait until the original.
Absolutely. If you
Motion
can
to table.
pull it and somebody gets a second and you all vote for it, we can absolutely pull.
and my point and concern about that, I would advise that don't happen. Allow the public to digest this, because there's some concerns how these taxpayers feel. They've worked and retired, and now this is something new to them. I mean, the drug thing and the services, no, but just having it within a neighborhood that they're not comfortable with, I think that gives them ample time to say, hey, okay, I've had enough time to really think about it. I could see some things that you're talking about. You can understand where they're coming from, and just collectively try to work together. And to be honest, hey, I'd like to see you succeed in what you're doing, because I know you're doing a good thing. For the community. But I also like our community to feel comfortable with this.
Well, if the tabling occurs, it will be the 28th.
Okay.
But depending on circumstances. And
Yeah.
There's not comfort level to bring it.
Yeah.
Back to the table any sooner than that. Then it would continue being the 28th.
Yep.
You've made a motion.
Okay. Yep.
Support.
And their support.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Mississippiga,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Galvin,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. So what that is, it's incumbent upon you to make that outreach, and it's incumbent on everybody that's here is to take the invitation and to, move forward with the dialogue and creating a relationship and see where you can find common ground or not. That'll be, up to you, but please accept the invitation, with these folks and see how we move forward. Okay?
Yeah, I would love for everyone to come, see what we do, meet our people, and then make a judgment after you meet the folk.
Okay.
Not just go off of presumptions of these people are this kind of way. We really do welcome everyone to come, meet it, and then after you do, and you make a judgment after that, that's fair. But at least take all the facts in, meet some of the people, and see that they're not scary, and see that they're not criminals. They're not going to do the things that we think that they're going to do. And then after that, if you guys make a judgment, I'll respect that. I'll stand back and say yes. But at least meet everyone and visit the building, meet the people, and then make a judgment after that.
And we have a first opportunity tomorrow. Your meeting
tomorrow at 5:30. Yeah.
At 5:30.
At 1128 Roberts. Well, we could do this. I mean, tomorrow we'll discuss that. Whatever feels comfortable. And if it's a bi-weekly thing and that works with it, we're willing to work.
Remember,
with
they're required to have an advisory board as part of their conditional, the proposed conditional zoning. Okay. And again, they'll be able to go into more detail. The fact that even though it's under a medical zoning, no medical in those terms where anything is being dispensed. It's strictly talk therapy. But if you make that meeting tomorrow for the Sheldon Park Neighborhood Association meeting, this would be a first step with beginning the dialogue with the agency.
I would just like to say that for some of us, at least I'm speaking for myself for sure, using the term they and them definitely not meant to be derogatory. It was just more comfortable than saying felon or inmate or.
Right. And again, we can't make that. Okay. Right. And because it's not always going to be that. Remember, these are voluntary participants, and not all of them have been incarcerated or anything else. These are individuals that are making a choice to get their life together without having having gone through the criminal justice system. So that's an assumption too. Okay, Patsy. Go ahead. I'll take quick ones, and this is not our typical.
Doing is wonderful and excellent, but we live in a confused world, and I got nieces, nephews, brothers, all of us that right now, and I dealt with them, so I know what you're going through. So this program might work for some, but on the average, I know what happened. I'm a senior citizen. I stay alone. I see these things now that are happening in my neighborhood. When I get up at night to go to the bathroom, and these things are going on.
Yeah.
You can't stop it. You can't be there 24 hours.
Yeah.
So the thing of it is, everybody here, be gracious enough to put yourself in my shoes. And when you can walk in my shoes and understand my feelings, then we can have some common ground. But don't make a judgment when it's not in your backyard. That's all I'm.
Okay, well, and you'll have an opportunity beginning tomorrow and in the coming days and weeks to have that dialogue, at the person to person, the human level, and come to some, accommodation or not. Okay. Thank you. We're done with this topic.
And what is that address again?
1128 Roberts, and we'll start at 5:30.
Right there, okay.
And all commissioners, if you're available, we'd love to have you down there too.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you,
so much.
Council.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
That brings us to
Gift card.
any other business. At this time, we have an item,
I'm not going to hear the police testimony.
a gift card committee update.
No? Horrible.
Now, the committee hasn't met in several months, but staff, and we have Director Eckholm with us this evening, has been working on a strategy to address disposition. So why don't we lead out with you, sir?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Can everybody hear me okay with the mask on?
Sure can.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. I'm loud. But, yeah, so at the last meeting, it was requested that we just give sort of an update as to where we're at. The last time we had a committee meeting, I believe, was in January, February. I'm looking at Commissioner Johnson and Vice Mayor Hood. They were both present at that meeting. So the strategy that we outlaid in that meeting was, we all agreed at the time that it was probably premature to solicit any of those vendors that we bought gift cards from to see if it was appropriate that they could refund some of those gift cards due to the negative impacts of the restaurant industry at that time. You know, continuing throughout this season, as things have gone on, they've faced additional challenges. As of February of 2021, they had lost over $240 billion in revenue nationwide. 110,000 restaurants have closed. So, you know, at this point, that industry is still suffering pretty drastically. So that seems to have held water, the committee's decision to kind of hold off on that. So the avenue that we've gone is a strategy by which we would seek folks in the business community that were willing to sponsor a portion of those gift cards without actually utilizing them. So effectively buying a percentage of the total value of the gift cards and transitioning it to effectively a grant. The target that we set in those committee meetings was 25% of the total value, so approximately $48,000. I've been working over the last several months with Steve Olson from Northern Machine Tool and Downtown Muskegon Development Corporation and Pure Muskegon. He's involved in several business groups, Muskegon Angels, and he's been cultivating interest in that concept. So not only do folks have to be willing to give money towards that gift card subsidy, they have to be willing to not utilize those gift cards. So we found a mix of folks that are interested. Our goal is to find 20 people at $2,400 a piece, and we have a letter of intent that he is out there assisting the city in circulating to different members of the business and philanthropic community. At this time, you know, we're continuing that effort. We have several folks that have said they want to buy them and utilize them as incentives for their employees. So we have some folks that just said, you know, I'm not going to buy them and hold them, but I'll buy them at fair market value and give them to my employees. So we're kind of keeping those folks in a holding pattern until we can subsidize that 25%. The goal of subsidizing that 25% through the grants from the philanthropic and business community would be to then turn around and have the ability to sell the remainder of the gift cards at 75% of face value, or effectively at a 25% discount to residents of the community. So passing some of that grant sponsorship along to both the public as a family of four. You know, it'd be valuable for me to get a $50 gift card for $37.50, and then to the restaurant, because they have, you know, it slows down the amount of, or it reduces the total of comped business that they're going to have to someday account for by at least 25%. So. And then additionally, the committee agreed that we should release those, you know, release the gift cards after we've achieved that goal and we're selling them at that 75% face value. We should release them in several like phases or tranches so that we don't overwhelm the market with too much comped business for our restaurant community. Our restaurants in the city limits have fared fairly well against the national statistics and the state statistics. So, you know, loading up a bunch of free business in our local market for them would probably not be advisable. So that's kind of where we're at with things. The work continues on that. I believe we've used a pretty small value of the gift cards for election worker training. That was approved by the commission, but other than that, they remain locked up in the finance department. So,
Commissioner Ramsey, then Commissioner Saban.
Yeah, so thank you, Jacob, so much for sharing that with us. I think that all sounds like a great opportunity. I think that also as we look at the needs that we have for volunteers and for specific areas, and for those needs that we have our own surveys that we're trying to engage communities in to bolster, is there opportunity to entice and incentivize with food? Because that's a gig. I will show up for food. So I think that while you're working through this program that you guys have laid out so clearly as a group, thank you, both Vice Mayor and Commissioner Johnson, that let's not make sure we overlook those opportunities to utilize these to engage our community members, because it is a great benefit for everybody. But otherwise, score, and thank you for bringing that. I just hadn't heard, and I think that it sounds like you've got it. And, you know, to Steve Olson and the Muskegon Angels and people doing that work who are willing to make a huge donation to our local businesses is amazing. And we know that there's been some recognition for this program as a whole anyway, but it just really speaks to their belief, and I support that. And I'll support passing savings on, and thank you for your time. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Commissioner Muskegon?
Yeah, I guess my question is why we would sell the remainder at the 75% of face value. Just that, I think just to encourage selling them because they could just go get a gift card at Rad Dad's or wherever anyways. So
Yeah, that was exactly the thought. So that provides a competitive market advantage for us. So if we were to take a stall at the farmer's market and basically sell gift cards at a discount, that would keep somebody from just saying, well, if I wanted to get a gift card to restaurant A, I could just go there right now or get online and do it. But again, if I'm a family and I'm trying to, it costs me $50 every time I take my family out to dinner and I can save a few bucks on that, it's worth my time. The other part was trying to pass along some of the benefits of this program if we can successfully implement it. So the first phase in purchasing the gift cards assisted businesses. The next phase we could completely reimburse the city and then actually pass the savings along to those businesses on the back end as well as residents. And so that seemed like a kind of a nice double benefit when the committee was deliberating on that.
Love it.
I think 90% of face value would still be a good value and would return more money to the program. So I don't know, whatever you think.
Well, the 25% that would be like caught by the businesses would return to the economic development fund.
Sure.
So just at 75%, we return 100% of the value that we expended on the gift cards. So that's what we were shooting for. But I'll bring that up at the next committee meeting, which I think we're probably due to have at this point.
Clearly.
It's a good thought.
Yeah, I was curious about that same aspect. Because presumably we'll want the sponsors to buy the cards from those entities that aren't going businesses right now, so that they're out of the equation, those cards. And so I was wondering then if, I think last time we left off was getting legal counsel's opinion on that. Like, are we going to treat this as a single entity, so to speak? So the fact that they're buying the cards from a few defunct businesses, that can be passed through to the cards for the active businesses. And like where, because previously we heard from legal counsel, or I heard from legal counsel that we have to sell it at fair market value, but we can figure out fair market value can be at a discount. It's the question of to what extent, what is that reasonable? You were saying, because given the volume of cards, there is a case to be made that fair market value could be at a reasonable discount. I would probably concur with Commissioner Sievenga of being closer to 90%, simply to replenish our economic development fund to the greatest extent as possible, being that its current state of being overcommitted, not cash negative right now, but overcommitted. Trying to replenish that so then we've got money to work with and can start committing to whether that's new businesses starting up from people that might have been displaced by the pandemic, or helping some of our other businesses survive and so they don't then go defunct. So I guess that's something that we can explore at our next committee meeting, which we left it back in earlier beginning
February
of this year.
Yeah, it's February.
With the idea we weren't going to take action on dispersing the cards, selling them, using them, because we're very much in the middle of the pandemic. We still are, and we were looking at hitting certain goalposts. Like if we got to at least 70% of the state vaccinated, then we'd be more proactive in selling this. I don't think we've got to 70%, but
and I would say, one of the things that I would advocate for, and I think I have on the committee, is we should really be watching the economic data for the region even more. Like the vaccination rates are a direct correlative factor to that, but the restaurant industry is going to be the last one to recover, restaurant and retail, and so. And these cards don't have an expiration date. It was mentioned there are 2 businesses that are no longer in business, and that's something that obviously those are going to be the ones that we replace value on first. But yeah, I would agree that we have to kind of be very deliberate about that. And then obviously the committee's intention has always been to bring a plan back to the full commission to get endorsement before we start expending any cards or selling them to anybody.
And one other thing we talked about as a committee, I think as at our first meeting, was how do we how do we help those businesses that had met the same criteria as the businesses that had gift cards purchased from, but for whatever reason did not get cards purchased from them. There were a number of businesses across our city, and we're like, how can we help them? And at a subcommittee, meeting, we're like, well, we don't have the resources in the economic development fund to help them at that point.
Nominally, today we do.
If we are no, because you remember that one part of the city charter, you can't. If you've got all those commitments out there, you can't overextend yourself. That's a big no-no. So while there's cash on hand, we can't use it, which is the frustrating part.
Right.
So if we're able to replenish the economic development fund, then we could. Or now that we've got, at the time, we didn't have $22 million or the expectation of $22 million in ARPA funds. So perhaps that's something that you could explore and bring it to the committee. We could utilize or carve out a portion of the ARPA dollars and create a program that those that might have been left out of the original well-intentioned program could have an opportunity to apply or participate in at this point. So that's something that I'd like.
Now, back at the close of the year, we had authorized a aid program for businesses. And at the time, it was not open for food service and beverage because we had thought that they'd already benefited from. However, during deliberation and talk, because things were still so shaky, that program was open to food and beverage as well. Have those funds been expended or spoken for?
Some, not all, is my understanding, and there's two pots of funds. There's CDBG backed dollars, and I'm going to reference to Director Bailey, and then there's the allocated funds as well. I don't have those numbers in front of me, so I'm hesitant to give you precise figures, but I do know it's been a well-utilized program. Our Director of Strategic Initiatives, Peter Wills, oversees that implementation, and I know he's been quite busy with it.
Okay, because I'm just wondering if that would be something else to bring to the table during your next conversation about the availability of, because we opened it.
It could potentially be a further expansion of that programming, or we could consult with our council and determine what role those ARPA dollars can play in business stimulus on this end of things, now that we're kind of at this point in the program.
But if those dollars that we authorized at the close of last year haven't been fully expended and people haven't taken advantage of them, perhaps there's a potential there for those individuals that didn't benefit from the well-intentioned program.
For sure. I'll get an update and email the commission.
Of that at this time.
Yeah, I'll get an update on the current rate of expenditure and what's remaining on both sides of that program and email the commission with those figures. And then when we set up a committee meeting, we can discuss that.
Sounds good. Thank you for your legwork with the sponsors and bringing them together and hashing that out. So.
Yeah, I think we're going to get there. And I think beyond that 48,000 plus minus that would encompass that 25%, there have been other folks that are interested in just buying them at face value and using them as gifts for their employees. So I think there's plenty of people out there that liked the spirit of the program, are willing to kind of figure out the next step as to what to do with it now that we're in this strategy phase. And we're just kind of out there, as you said, kind of pounding the pavement, doing the legwork. I hope to have something for you before the end of year, showing that letter of intent.
Very good. Very good. Anything else for Mr. Eckholm, Mr. German?
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Eckholm, what is the actual value in the city's possession right now of the cars?
It's $192,000.
193.
192.
Oh,
Yep.
192.
There was an error in one spreadsheet that said 187, but that was because one restaurant was believed to have been out of business, but they actually transitioned to a food truck, and they're still honoring gift cards from their, they're doing business under the same name. So,
okay.
So yeah, it's 192 at this point.
We've used some of those 192, haven't we?
We've used, so it was 197, I believe, and we've used some of the 197. I just had finance run numbers today.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was previous 195. We ended up reimbursing 3,000 because one entity
We did reimburse 3,000 to
And
one
then that's how we
entity.
got
I
down to
don't.
192, and then we used some. So I don't know. That's my recollection.
Yep, and I'll bring fresh numbers to the committee. I just had finance run them today, just so I knew I had solid numbers to work with today, and I got an updated spreadsheet from Mr. Nickel in finance department.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to additional work from the committee. And again, thank you very much, Vice Mayor and Commissioner Johnson, and thank you for finding this interest from the business community and Angels.
Yeah, we're working on it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Now we talked about the hospitality business, and the other businesses that did not have the opportunity to be partakers during that pandemic when we were graciously, trying to help them. What considerations have there been to assist other businesses to be partakers with this gift card program?
Sure. So we didn't take a gift card approach with the secondary program, but the program that was referenced by the mayor, the small retail assistance program that was put together by the economic development department, that has expended tens of thousands of dollars towards grants up to $5,000 each, I believe, for small retailers in the city limits. So folks that were non-food service, as was originally mentioned, and then over the course of time, we opened that to food service folks as well. So there's been, and that's what I'm going to get you guys fresh numbers on tomorrow via email. Yep.
What about minority businesses? Females, gender, black businesses.
I know that there's been pretty
Hispanics.
wide-ranging use of the program as far as demographics. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I can pull that together too. Yep, and get that to you.
But you did reach out to those
we
entities and businesses.
disseminated that program pretty widely. There was press release. There were, we sent Dave Alexander pounding the pavement in commercial corridors. Getty Street, Laketon, Apple, downtown, Lakeside, pretty much everywhere, trying to make sure that people knew about it, because we were kind of bare bones there for a while because we weren't full time in the office. So and then not everybody was keeping regular store hours. So getting the word out on that was a main priority for us. But we did make a concerted effort to get out to everybody and make sure that everyone was represented and available for that program.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anything else from Mr. Ekholm? Again, thank you very much. And look forward to getting things rolled up and wrapped up.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Is there any other business to bring before the commission before we go to public comment? Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few items. Try to go through them quickly. This meeting went longer than I anticipated tonight. One of which is with regard to the our ARPA home infill program that we moved forward with the RFQ part a couple weeks ago, and I've not seen the RFQ posted on the city website or Facebook, otherwise disseminated through online channels. And the deadline for that is a week from today, I think, the 31st. I was already a little bit concerned about there only being 3 weeks for such a major program. Granted, it was RFQ, not RFP. But I'm just wondering, given that the lack of, or the fact that it's not been publicized online or online channels, if we should do that first and then perhaps give extra time, given the delay in posting that online, whether it's an extra week, 2 weeks. Given that we're 2 weeks out, I would think it may be prudent to give an extra 2 weeks. So that's one thing with regard to that program. But secondly, and we don't need to hash this out right now because this has been a long night, but something that perhaps we can talk about at our next work session. We did talk about it at the last work session, but that's with regard to the AMI cap for the home buyers that would be getting a subsidy from the city. I know we've talked about it previously. I know Commissioner German brought it up that night as well. A little leery about it having the 125% cap, and I'd like to us explore that in terms of potentially bringing that down some, because we also need to understand the mechanics of how we're going to subsidizing it, because someone that's 125%, a single person 125% is making a good amount of money. And so should we be subsidizing someone making, $60,000 a year to buy one of these homes at the same level as someone that's making, $30,000 a year? So we need to understand the mechanics of that. And I think it may be prudent to bring down that 125% AMI, we didn't lock anything in stone. It's still in flux. And so I would like us to bring that to our work session and explore that.
So Mr. Grant has both the RFQ issue, he'll get additional information, make sure that, the powers that be get that posted, and to your question, do we need additional time on that? What happened? Yeah. And I'll talk to Frank tomorrow. Right. And you have something to add on the?
If I may, I might have misunderstood. Was it said that the RFQ is not posted on the website?
Usually we get on the front page when you've got updates posted or showing up there. I've not seen anything.
It's there.
Posted on the.
Yep, it's under the releases part. I'm on mobile, so I can't tell you precisely how that correlates to the desktop. But yeah, it's under the press releases and new under agendas and minutes. Request for qualifications for developers to carry out scattered site single-family construction. So there is a link to it because I think Director Bailey has referred several of her contractors to that link on the website, as have I.
Okay.
So I don't know about the social media side, but I do know that we did put it on the website and that we've been disseminating it pretty heavily to local contractors.
Gotcha. That's reassuring. So it's not showing up under what's hot. A lot of times it shows up there, those kind of things, but I do see at the very bottom for press releases. So that's reassuring that it's there. Thank you for pointing that out.
Okay. I just didn't want to miss something because I thought I misheard something.
Oh, no, you're right on. I have not seen it on any of your social media channels, but I'm glad that it's the press release is showing up at the bottom of our Shoreline City website.
In addition, there's been one-on-one contacts with locals, so that's a good.
Yeah, Director Bailey, myself, and City Manager Peterson, we all work with contractors in our day-to-day operations, and we've sent it out to everyone we work with, and then some.
Thank you. I'll share that.
Thank you. Okay, so the other item to be brought up is a discussion on the AMI. Yep. Okay. Anything else, Commissioner?
Then if we can, because I brought this up at several different meetings in recent months, and we got a little bit of update from Director Evans, but I'd like us to, if we can, at our work session discuss or get an update on our sewer fund, forecast for being able to roll back that 20% increase, whether we could do that sooner than later, because we've heard from Director Evans that we're seeing that seepage, that infiltration being considerably less than anticipated because water levels have come down. So that's helping. And then also had heard from a report from the city manager, I don't know, about a month or so ago, that there's potentially millions of dollars held with the wastewater system, but there's discussion of how do we return that all to the city's share of it? Is it applied as a credit or whatnot? So getting clarity on that, and clarity on the infiltration issue, and clarity on the dollars and cents of that fund.
Okay.
Because if there's an opportunity for us to roll back some or all of that 20% increase, I would like us to embrace that. Yes. Not only is that helping our residents, but manufacturers in a challenging time.
Our audit starts next week, and we have noticed that our bills went down from the county, but we still have a lot of sewer bonds out there that will negatively impact our fund until we capitalize those funds. So I would like to wait till the audit's finished before we make a decision that we make a rollback or not, to see where our fund is really at, because we still may have a negative fund balance on our fund just because of the way that we have bonds issued, and it negatively impacts our cash, our fund balance.
If we were to receive a return of funding from the wastewater system, that could change that dynamic and put us back in the positive, and perhaps create an opportunity for us to roll back.
That could help. That would definitely help us out.
Okay.
But I think the county is kind of, and Leo could probably speak about that. I don't think they want to give us the money back right away. They just want to credit us. They want to smooth it out.
Credit over time.
Yes.
So we could appeal to our county commissioners perhaps and say, relinquish a little portion, some of that.
I think it'll be on the County Board of Public Works agenda in September, and then it's up for consideration. But they're proposing to change the way that sewer is billed.
Okay.
And rather than billing us on flat gallons and a rate per gallon, they would set an allotment of the city of Muskegon, your treatment budget for the year is $5 million, regardless of if you send us 1 gallon or if you send us 10 billion gallons. And then they still measure and meter our flow. And basically, they set their overall budget, and the city of Muskegon gets the portion of that budget proportional to our flow on a 3-year average. So it would take those peaks and valleys out where we do have a high infiltration year. We wouldn't pay the county $8 million a year.
Gotcha.
It would be $5 million a year. Nice budget. It's a rent payment at that point, basically. So,
Okay, so keep an eye on the County Board of Public Works meeting.
yes, I
next
believe it'll be
month.
on their agenda for their September meeting, that proposal in the budget.
All right, excellent, thank you. Yeah, very keen on, as I think we all are, providing financial relief to our
And I
residents.
think, as Ken mentioned, I think the first set of bonds does not capitalize until October of this year, so I don't even know that it will show up on the CAFR audit that takes place, but it will be in place by the time the CAFR is finalized and comes out. So it'll be a little dynamic situation there, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to give them, if we can, give them a sewer break as soon as we can, but we just have to make sure.
Yeah, I just know it's been painful for a lot of folks
Yes, it is.
to digest that. It's been tough. And then final thing, this is going to be quick, I think. Hopefully, is just what the status of our Lakeside Social District is, because we had approved that and expected it to launch by 4th of July, beginning of July. And I was just wondering if there's any movement, or we got updates, or are we going to see that roll out this year? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you. He gave the answer.
Your Labor Day kickoff? Oh, we're good. Yeah.
There was significant lag time at LCC. We had throughout the summer, Dave Alexander did a good job of keeping you guys informed and working with those 2 entities that are opting in for now, Marine Tap Room and Wonderland Distilling. We just got word, not this week, but last week, that both of them have sent in their confirmation paperwork with LCC. So I think by next weekend, we should have a social district operating. We've ordered signs, like the boundary signs, and I believe that Dave is taking care of ordering cups or stickers for them. And he's requested a certain amount of upfront purchase just to get us through the season. So yeah, we will have a district this year. Yep.
Excellent. Thanks so much. We're going to have it by Labor Day, hopefully. Yes.
Oh, I think so. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just one last thing.
Yes, Commissioner.
If I can get Director Evans to come up, you worked hard today. Just a quick question. Just a quick question on the construction that's going on the Myrtle Street and the corner of Myrtle and Murphy.
Okay.
I sent an email to you. You probably didn't get a chance to look at it because I did get your email. But there's a resident there who has some concerns about the removal of trees on that terrace. And he has a couple of them that's in front of his house. And I just want to know the process, or how do you determine which trees will be removed? Because I went out there and these look pretty bad. Rotten tree. One was buckling the sidewalk. And to him, it just didn't make sense that you remove all the trees off of the terrace from Murphy all the way to his driveway and leave that tree there. And then there's another one on the terrace in front of the house with branches hanging on the wires and actually over on the street. And I look at it kind of as a safety issue because children play in that area and it's a residential area. So in the email, I just kind of explained it, but I guess what is the process, and how do you determine which trees are removed when you're doing that type of construction?
So the engineers that design the project look at it and make a determination of, we're going to be digging a hole 10 foot deep right next to this tree, so it needs to come out, or it's buckling the sidewalk and it's within the project limits. So they make that determination up front. Anything that falls outside of a project limit, you can call us at DPW. Okay. We'll have our forestry staff go out. They assess the condition of the tree. They've got a policy they follow. If it meets X, Y, Z, we schedule it for removal. If it doesn't, we recommend that it stays in place for a terrace tree. Right. I did get your email. I did forward that on to our forestry staff, so we'll have that one tree looked at and follow up with that property owner as soon as we can.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Anything else, commissioners, to bring before the body before we go to public comment? Okay, thank you very much. If there's any member of the public that would like to make comment to the commission at this time on any topic, please feel free. Come to the podium. I just need your name address, and you're given 3 minutes to make your public comment.
I would just like to clarify first off on,
Can I get your name and address again?
I'm
please?
sorry, Bridget Shepherd, 1229 East Isabella. And in reference to the project itself, and I am realistic that I know that every person in this room has somewhere been affected themselves or a family member by drug and alcohol abuse. Use, abuse. I'm sorry, I don't know the correct terminology all the time of how not to offend everyone. I'm not here to offend anyone. I'm not here to prevent a great thing from happening. The questions and concerns that I have, and hopefully will also be addressed tomorrow, is the concept one of zoning. If we can look at it just in general aspect of recreational, because a lot of what they were talking about was recreational as well as their counseling and classes and such that is required. And I bring up recreational because Teen Challenge, which is also, I don't know what their classification is because they have a religious entity incorporated with that. But it is treatment, counseling, safe zone, things that are sustainable. So in that aspect, that's more what I'm looking. I'm looking at the sustainability. And I want to be honest with you. I'm looking at the sustainability. I don't care who's in that backyard. To be all honest with you, I don't care what their record is. I don't care. They've been to jail 20 million times. Well, theoretically. But in the general sense, it's not about the individual. It's specifically about them and their crime and their problems. It's about the whole as itself being treated for the individual. That's my point. There's often way too much. If you look at KPEP, yes, they have the disadvantage. They're ordered to be there. But you know, just as well as any, they got to want it. Okay, so as we're looking at the whole of this, and if you have 14 people that want it together, there's great success in numbers. But I am also a mom of 6 kids. My last one just graduated high school. And let me tell you what, with 6 kids, there's conflict. Let alone you having additional issues. And you have those additional mental health problems, family issues, money issues, job issues. The list is non-ending, is no different for them than it is for any of us. And I guess I really want to put that to the aspect. The bigger concerns of what I have significantly heard in the aspect of this is it's all been surprised. Medical came up first off. That was the first hugest red flag. And thank you all for addressing it, but it still leaves that hindering, holy sitting behind you with a medical terminology when another could use recreational, or the splitting of hairs of where they're getting their medications. And I'm looking at the aspect of hierarchy of law is the personal care, a doctor, sustainability, their health. All of that is done through a physician, not through a traveling nurse and not through a traveling doctor. Other than those that are just coming in, that are just starting to get established and maybe get that sustainability, I can understand those services. But when it comes to the whole of it, I mean, there's a lot of questions there that are really questioning. Why have that medical? Is it part of this whole thing of pulling in insurance money? That's a whole thing. But I wanted y'all to know, this is more on the concept of sustainability, individual with their problems. If there's 14 people in one place, I'm telling you, my 6 kids couldn't stand in the same room. Even send them to their rooms. So I think that's the fear of the community as well, besides the ignorance. Nobody's out of touch with this problem.
Right. So,
But they are out of touch with reality.
Some clarity from, the dialogue. And again, as, planning has stated, there wasn't another zoning terminology.
Right, I've done
medical, but now we have, the agreement. Medical doesn't mean the medical.
Sure.
But, it allows and now provides for the talk therapy and insurance, to be able to aid these individuals. So
May I ask, is that the purpose for the medical terminology itself, or the zoning was for?
No, the purpose is that there wasn't anything on the books that qualified for.
May I ask why Halfway House didn't apply?
Half, if it's AFC and halfway houses, a lot
They're
of
not
those,
under our
they're not under our
subject to our
jurisdiction.
zoning.
Okay,
Yeah, because it's ruled by those super agencies, states and federal.
gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, so will this be a state-run facility?
No.
It's still a nonprofit then?
It's a
But do
nonprofit.
they have a medical zoning? Do they have to be state licensed?
It sounds like they're going to be state licensed.
Well, their services need to be.
Yeah,
in order to
And this is
qualify.
how uninformed a lot of us really are, in all honesty.
Right, they would have to have licensure and qualifications in order to provide the talk therapy that they do, and they're currently licensed for. You know, with the services they provide at their building on Roberts and Apple, and they need all those certifications so that any of their clients can qualify for insurance and other aid. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the commission at this time? If not, Vice Mayor, take us home.
I move to adjourn.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. All in favor? Oh, you're already getting out of your seats. Okay, good night.
Aye.